Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Welcome to 4Player Podcast. This is episode 707. It is January 20th, 2022. I'm your host this evening, Nick Henderson, and I am joined tonight by Nolan Hedstrom.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
And Christopher Davis.
Hello.
We have a 3-player podcast tonight. It's going to be good, though. We got a lot to talk about. Actually, this is our first regular, quote-unquote, regular show of the year. We didn't get to do a show last week. I was sick, but the week before that was our 2022 preview show, which I again want to reiterate. If you haven't listened to that, go check it out, because we went through a list of over 150 games that are coming out, potentially coming out in the coming year. So check that out, especially if you're looking for ideas about stuff you want to play this year. A little bit of housekeeping, or maybe kind of a lot of housekeeping before we get too far into it tonight. I want to first mention that we have closed the first Revival Club poll of the year, and it was the list curated by our very own Christopher Davis here. It was a good poll, but Warhammer 40k Space Marine won the poll by a pretty hefty margin, and we are now playing that. We're going to be playing that through the end of February, and then I will record a podcast with Christopher Davis here and another community guest. We'll talk about the game, but I streamed that for the first time the other night. Chris Davis, this game's pretty good.
I told you this was like a huge game about player empowerment.
It is. Yeah, I felt empowered. That's certainly one way of putting it.
And the fucking sound design is excellent.
That game has aged beautifully. It plays. I mean, a lot of that probably has to do with it's a popular game, and they've kind of kept it up to date. In fact, I want to say this: if you're listening to this at home and you're interested in playing along as part of the Revival Club, if you go to Steam and look up Warhammer 40k Space Marine, the only thing you're gonna see is the Anniversary Edition, and it's priced at $60, which is absurd. But if you go into the Discord for Warhammer 40k, I've pinned it in there. I think and I hope this deal is still valid. But you can buy the game, a Steam code for the original game, non-anniversary edition, for $6 through Games Planet. And when you redeem that code, it gives you the free upgrade to the anniversary edition. So it's basically like you went and spent the $60. So there are cheap alternatives, and there's probably a lot of you out there who maybe already own the game or have played it and just want to revisit it. It's a great game. I'm very excited to play more of it. And I'll be streaming that throughout February. And I said,
you're only playing Tuesdays, right?
Tuesday nights are my normal stream nights, and they're also kind of what I've been using predominantly to do Revival Club games. So if I stream outside of Tuesday, it'll probably be something else. But if you want to catch me playing Warhammer 40k Space Marine, I'll be doing it Tuesday night. I know Carlos has streamed a little bit of it. He also streamed some other Warhammer game because he's Carlos.
Well, he was streaming Dawn of War, and Dawn of War is one of the best 40k games.
I mean, I also want to reiterate that I know almost nothing about Warhammer as a franchise, or whatever. But I will say this, and I'll probably talk about this when we actually do the podcast, or whatever. But that game is like I'm not a big fan of Gears of War, but I'm looking at this, and I'm like, I feel like Gears of War took a lot of inspiration from this game, and this game feels. It didn't?
No. Gears of War came out in 2005. This came out in 2009?
I'm more... Oh my god. I thought you were going to go the other direction, because I thought you were going to talk about Warhammer being a tabletop game that goes back to the 90s or whatever, but... Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. Oh, well, whatever it is, this game is firing off... a lot of Gears of War synapses are firing off in my brain while I'm playing this, and I'm like, this game feels better than Gears of War.
I'm sorry, it was 2011.
Dang.
Yeah.
This game came out in 2011?
6 years after Gears of War.
What the fuck?
In fact, so their entire marketing plan in advertising this game was to make it look like the anti-Gears of War. Like the whole strategy was like, you don't need, this is not a cover-based shooter like everything else in the fucking market.
That is, yeah.
You are running out there and you are slaughtering and you are killing to get health back.
Yeah.
You're not
That
hiding.
is true. I'm probably going to bring up Gears of War a few times when we talk about it on the actual podcast, but I'll save it for that podcast. All I want to say is, like, as someone who has played pretty much all of the Gears of War games and just kind of been mediocre, like, just not a huge fan of them in general, I played this for like 2 hours and was like, this is some dope ass shit. I love this. So I'm looking forward to playing more of it.
That jetpack.
Jetpack is fantastic. All right, anyways, moving right along. If you're interested in being a part of the Revival Club, you can subscribe on Twitch. You can support us on Patreon at the $3 tier or higher. That'll give you access to the Discord rooms. And I'll be looking at for a community guest to join us in the podcast, but I'll figure that out when we get kind of closer to the end of February. Also, second thing, Game of the Year stuff is happening. Next week, as in a week from tonight, we're doing our 2021 awards show. Brad will be back for that. We haven't had Brad on a podcast in a while because he has a new baby. But he'll be back eventually. But he'll be back for for next week's podcast. So it's gonna be a big show. We're gonna go through all of our awards, like we normally do, and talk about all the games that kind of stood out to us in 2021. So tune in for that. It's next Thursday night. I think we're gonna try and start an hour earlier than we normally do because those shows typically go pretty long, and I'll release them in chunks. But if you want to participate, you can do two things. You can or you should do both. You can submit your own nominees for all of our award categories. There's a form set up, a Google form set up, and it's linked in the post I put on 4playernetwork.com. It's also pinned in the announcements channel, or the Game of the Year channel in Discord. Also, you can submit your own personal top 10 list, which we'll use to kind of figure out the community-wide top 10 list for 2021. And I'm going to announce right here, we hadn't made this official until now, but we're gonna raffle off a game for both those polls. If you submit your choices in either one of those polls, you will be entered into the raffle, and we'll give away a game. So go do that. You'll find the links you need in the show notes. You'll find them on 4playernetwork.com. You'll find them in Discord. They're everywhere. So check it out. Go do that.
And if it's not a game that's already out, then we'll give you a gift card, man. So like you can save it.
I mean, we're probably gonna just do it because we did this a while back. It's been a while since we've done one of these raffles, but we basically just up to the price of like standard price of a new game, like $60. Pick a game and it's yours if you're chosen. So there'll be one entry per poll. There's 2 different polls set up, so go do those when it's convenient for you, and we appreciate all of your input, guys. And lastly, I want to reiterate, because we haven't really been doing this very long, but viewer questions, which we do typically in the second segment, we're taking them via email now. Anybody can submit them, so if you have a question or a news topic or a discussion topic you want to hear us talk about on an upcoming episode, email us at questions@4playernetwork.com. Now, that was a mouthful. Sorry about that. Let's move on to our first order of business. We have a lot of impressions tonight. I've already been talking for a while, so I'm going to turn it over to Nolan. He's been playing some stuff.
Yeah.
You actually have 2 games you want to talk about tonight. I don't know which one you want to start with. I'm gonna leave it up to you.
Sure. So yeah, I've been doing 2021 catch up, especially leading into our award show next year. I want to make sure I give as many games as I can their place in the spotlight of my heart. And so one of the ones I played and ended up finishing was the Artful Escape, which was a delightful little game. Some people in chat maybe don't think it's a game. That's fine.
I played this. By the way, I played this too. It's on Game Pass, or it was.
Correct. It still is, yeah. And so, yeah, no, that's actually one of the things I have been doing is like I've been trying to find games that are 2021 that are on my list of to do that are on Game Pass, because that is an easy, quick, I can just download it real quick and start playing it. I mean, I just started yesterday The Forgotten City because I haven't gotten around to playing that yet. So it's another one that I literally can just click download and start going. But anyway, so the Artful Escape, an interesting game, I'll say. I will say that it is very pretty aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, it is very colorful.
Oh man, who said, there was somebody in chat a while ago when you because I put
Mhm.
the Artful Escape in the overlay here, and I think it was Prince of the Universe.
I think it was
He's like,
Prince, yeah.
yeah, he was like that is not a game, but
And that's fine to think that. You define game.
yeah,
But anyway, I recorded 2 sections of gameplay, and I couldn't remember which one I had sent Chris Davis, so I just pulled up the stream. So it was actually the earlier footage. It seems like actually have some footage from later in the game. There's actually a part where you um, go into a closet that turns into like a shopping mall, and you get to like kind of redesign yourself, because that's kind of one of the key points of this game. Is the character of Francis Vendetti is trying to discover who he really is, because he is currently in the shadow of his very famous folk singing
it's like his
uncle.
uncle is like it's like a famous folk singer or whatever, and he's trying
Yeah,
to get out from underneath his shadow, and everybody kind of
yeah,
expects him to just kind of slip into that same role, I guess, because he's also a talented musician. Uh, but the way they approach that is unexpected.
yeah,
I
for
guess.
sure. It is a very story heavy game. There's a lot of also big voice actors that I didn't realize were in it. Or sorry, big actors who are voicing characters. Um, Nick, you made a face. Did you not remember any of them?
Uh,
Or
I just remembered now because I remember also thinking like that's unexpected. Isn't I can't remember her name, but Cersei
yeah,
Lannister, isn't she in it?
Lena Headey.
Yeah, Lena Headey.
So yeah,
I don't.
I'm like, I'm watching the credits at the beginning where they're like announcing some stuff, and I'm like, oh, like Lena Headey, okay, and like, oh, like Jason Schwartzman, I'm like, oh, Carl Weathers, and I was just surprised at some of these like kind of bigger names.
Went back and
Oh,
tried to
Mark
figure out
Strong
who Lena
too.
Headey played, and I
Hmm.
couldn't. I was like, that was Lena Headey. Like I did not
Has
recognize her at all while I was playing.
Yeah.
so
Um,
question:
what's up, Chris?
Does this game have any relation to Oxenfree?
No, not to my knowledge.
No, no, but I mean, it
Okay.
is. I guess I could see why you would make the connection because it is similar. Like even like the text bubbles, like the one you're seeing on the screen right now,
Yeah,
kind of
that
looks.
the text bubbles now, the text is popping up. It really visually reminds me of Oxenfree.
I think
Mhm.
both. I mean, I don't know if one inspired the other, but there are certain. I mean, these are kind of similar types of games where they're very mechanically light and very story heavy, and it's just kind of like going along for the ride. And you every once in a while you have to make a decision.
Mhm. Correct.
But
And
this
like
one's
I
very
said,
flamboyant.
that is kind of one of the big hinging points of this game, is Francis Vendetti trying to not be Francis Vendetti. I don't want to be this person. Folk songs, while I'm good at playing them, aren't where my soul lies. And that is when you kind of get
He
taken
wants
away.
to doesn't
Mhm.
he wants to write like the like a big like a rock
Space
opera
opera.
or space opera, yeah, as the
Yeah.
so
And so the one thing I will say is, very early on, um when the game starts, you are in a town in Colorado, Calypso. I will say I really enjoyed kind of exploring that town. And I understand this is a smaller game, but I really wanted to do more of that. So when you first kind of start, a bunch of stuff happens, but then you go to Calypso and you're kind of exploring and interacting with people. Like, oh, there's the nice old lady who really liked your uncle when he was big, and then there's like the guy who runs the venue, and he's a cranky guy, and you better be there and you better perform good. But I really liked that town. I liked how they handled I don't want to say 2.5D, because I wouldn't even call it that. It's definitely your character is locked into a 2D plane.
yeah.
But there is a lot of depth to it, and at one point, yes, you or at multiple points, you kind of go behind, but you take like a little like stair lift kind of thing to kind of go to another area. But I really liked that kind of Calypso town, exploring it and kind of interacting with stuff around there. I know there
Yeah.
wasn't a whole lot to do, but I
But
was
you wish
hoping there
there
would be a
was.
little more of that. Yeah, no, I do, and I wish, because you do go to other places in the universe, And I wish that there were some other towns that were kind of a little more like that, where you're kind of
Yeah.
everything was a little bit smaller scope, which I guess I understand. Like I said, it was definitely a smaller game. Um,
Did you finish it?
but anyway, what's up?
Did you finish it?
Yeah, I did. It was pretty interesting. But like I was saying, one of the things that the reason I wasn't sure about the footage was because the second bit of footage I had was after I had kind of redesigned myself and chosen a new name and a new persona and a new you kind of become someone else.
Yeah.
And uh when you go to this like place to kind of redesign yourself, you choose all new aspects, new shoes, new pants, new whatever. But I had like a crop top jacket. uh I don't know how you would call that. What are what are the things that women wear? It's like lingerie, but it's like that kind of like pin, like holds up, or holds down, not like a garter. um
Ooh,
what is
man.
that called?
Man, this is not
Stocking?
my this is not my
Not
department here.
stocking. It would be something that they would wear to hold their stockings up.
Okay.
Um, but anyway, so I was wearing some of
Turn to
those.
you.
Yeah, we all know that my brain has not been working today. But I was wearing some of those and some nice boots. And I had like spiky Goku hair. And like you can choose like a new guitar, and mine was it's like an ethereal guitar that's like made of flames. Um,
Should because
uh,
without actually seeing the footage that you're just describing, without seeing what you ended up with, I feel like that description kind of implies that it could have gone either way. Were you intentionally trying to make him look ridiculous, or does that ultimately end up looking? Do you like the way he ultimately ended up looking? Like, were you trying to make him
I
look?
can definitely see someone who is in this person's shoes creating the greatest space opera of all time.
Right, right, right.
And I'm trying to remember, because like you said, a lot of the decisions are up to you, and you kind of choose your name and where you're from and
Is there
the
a garter
backstory
belt?
of that planet. I don't know. Let me Google
Slade said garter belt, and I was
garter
like,
belt.
that sounds like it could be right.
Yes. So yes, thank you, Slade. It was a garter belt, was what he was wearing.
There we go.
And I mean, feel free to Google it if you want a good uh, image.
Safe
Um,
search off.
yeah. And so yeah, you get to choose a bunch of stuff, and unfortunately I can't remember what it was, but it's something that you end up repeating later on, that
Yeah.
oh, I am this person from this planet, and I did blah blah blah, and I defeated this army and this thing, and you just have this whole backstory that you create as you're now kind of performing your space opera, I guess, throughout the universe. Um, and so while I get where Prince in chat is coming from, and that you could say, oh, it's not a game, but I would say it's just as much of a game as like her story.
Yeah.
Just because you're not like doing quick time events and moving stats around and stuff like that doesn't mean you're not being delivered an experience.
For sure.
And so yeah, if you want to call it an interactive experience, you could still do that.
I
There
mean,
are still gaming elements in the sense that you have to play guitar back and forth with this certain like kind of alien creatures where they're doing some stuff. It's almost like Simon meets I don't want to say like DDR, but I mean you're kind of having to match what they're doing. But the kind of nice thing about that is time isn't important. So it's not that you have it's not like DDR in which like some notes are coming down and you have to press them at a certain time. They're doing something, and the game even early on says like, hey, you don't have to play it at the same rhythm. Kind of make your own thing, make your own riff, feel it in your bones. You do kind of have to play the same notes, but you can kind of change the timing and a
right,
bit.
right.
Which I guess is kind of interesting. I don't know if that makes it necessarily easier, but I had fun kind of putting my own little spin on the notes I was supposed to play.
Yeah, I mean, there's not, Prince is in chat right now, kind of alluding to like, because you as you're running through this like crazy world, you're carrying your guitar and you're
Mhm.
engaging in these like musical back and forths with these like crazy ethereal like space creatures and whatnot. And there's not really a fail state for these things, and there's no wrong
really.
answer. You just kind of have to play until like everything kind of meshes or gels together, and then it kind of lets you move on. But like, uh, it's still giving you kind of some agency in terms of like how you choose to strum the guitar and like the notes you try to like the tune that you try to carry and then you end up in situations where you get to like kind of choose the way your character looks, and that impacts kind of like the story going forward. It's like there are choices to be made. It's kind of like low input but like high output. I feel like maybe is the best way to describe it,
Sure.
because it is definitely like a audio visual experience, but you are still interacting with it. You're still engaging with it, and it's telling a really fun story. I think definitely kind of
At the end
unlike
of the
anything
day,
else.
yeah, at the end of the day, I would say I did enjoy the story that was told. I did like where the characters went. You know, while it's not like a 30-hour game, I think you can probably finish it in like 6 or 7 hours. I
Yeah,
still
sounds about
enjoyed
right.
my time with it, and especially it's a situation where if you have like Game Pass, and you can just download it and play it, I would definitely recommend. Especially, don't expect Gears of War, but kind of expect like a more chill experience. Um,
I
just to
forgot
kind of
what I
be
forgot what
along
I
for the ride.
played. I forgot what I
Mhm.
played just before this, but when I decided to sit down and play this, it was kind of like the perfect palate cleanser, where I was
When did
just
this
like,
come out?
uh,
Sometime the 2021.
I want to say like August or September, maybe. I don't remember exactly when, but yeah, it's definitely a 2021 game.
Okay.
But it's
I
just like a
guess just in my head, like I kept confusing it with The Last Night, and
No,
oh yeah, that's a
yeah,
totally different thing.
that's something
And
very
thank
different.
goodness.
Just there's a
it was
part of
September,
that
Chris.
visual thing that just I can't get out of my brain. But
Sorry,
Okay,
what did you say, Nolan?
I
Did you
say it
find
came
the
out in September.
September
okay,
9th? Yeah, I just found it.
hmm.
um, but cool little experience. Also, Zlade and Chat mentioned like Jack Black is like Jack Black kind of like some kind of inspiration for this. And I definitely wouldn't call this character that you play as Jack Black-esque. But if you think of Jack Black in terms of like the kinds of like experiences he like pursues in his music, like you talk about Tenacious D and how they like to kind of like lean into this like super just like silly like rock opera experience, like
Mhm.
that's what they're going for in this game, just maybe with a little bit less of the like comedic flair that I think Jack Black brings to Tenacious D, but
For
still
sure.
really cool. um okay, I have a game that's also on Game Pass. I'm playing it right now, and this game, I said that Jeff kind of turned me on to this game, and then Brad got upset. So I think maybe Brad had mentioned it to me before, and I forgot. But this is a game I've played almost entirely in 2022, but it's made me stop and rethink my entire list. My top 10 list of 2021, because I'm really fucking enjoying it. I'm playing Unsighted, which is
Hmm.
also on Game Pass. Um, very this is very much it's like when I first looked at it, it didn't strike me as this kind of game, but the, the more I dug into it, I was like, this is totally like a Zelda like. Um,
maybe like a
like
Hyperlight Drifter.
I have not played Hyper Light Drifter, but you're probably onto something there. I have a feeling. Um, but this is a like isometric uh pixel based like, I mean, I don't know if that's the best way to describe the art style, but like it definitely looks like a retro game. It looks kind of, but it's very similar in its structure to like Link to the Past. Excuse me, I
Mhm.
apologize, I have to keep clearing my throat tonight. But yeah, this is very much like a classic Zelda game, like Link to the Past, but with like a, and I'm still kind of trying to figure this out, but there is a time based system in this game, because
Hmm.
kind of the setup of this game is that you play an automaton. It's like you're living in this civilization, like humans have essentially died out, and the world is being retaken by nature, and the only living creatures, I guess, left on the planet are these automatons that have become sentient. And you play this character Alma, who is experiencing amnesia, and she doesn't
Mhm.
really know about her history or whatever. She wakes up, but she's an automaton, and all of these automatons that live in this village or in this world have like a certain amount of, I forget what they call it. There's like a certain amount of energy that kind of dictates how much time they have left, and when their clock runs out, they die.
Hmm.
So as you're running around this world and you're interacting with all these people and you're getting to know these characters, they all, next to their name, it displays like this person has like 150 hours left, this person has 25 hours left, whatever, and you also have a ticking clock essentially.
Hmm.
And as you're playing through the game and exploring the world, you're finding like there's dust that came from this like meteor that crashed on the planet that is kind of where they derive all their energy from. So as you find meteor dust, you can gift it to people in the world to boost their time. And that also kind of like reinforces your relationship with them. And then sometimes they'll like, as your relationship grows, they might sell you different things or give you discounts or tell you things that you wouldn't otherwise find. But meteor dust is kind of like a limited resource. So as you're running around the world, you're trying to find meteor dust to dish out to all these people. But on top of that, you're also it's like a classic Zelda game. So you're trying to collect these shards that will eventually allow you to forge this blade that I think is going to let me go into like the final area, I guess, and finish the story. So right now I'm running around this world and I can see kind of where all the different entrances are to these dungeons, and I'm trying to make my way, like find my way. It's kind of Metroidy in that way, and like there's certain pathways that are blocked off because I don't have a certain item or ability. So I have to kind of pick the order in which I'm tackling all these things, and eventually that kind of opens more and more of the world up. But just exploring this world is a lot of fun, and feels very classic Zelda in that sense. I'm like 2 dungeons in. I just got to the 3rd one before we recorded tonight. So, but like in the last dungeon, I just unlocked maybe the first like major, kind of like the thing that I would like the closest analog to like an item you would find in a Zelda dungeon, and it actually reminds me of one of the things from Twilight Princess, the spinning top. That was the thing. That was the thing in Twilight Princess, right? So you
For
get
the
spinning
one
top.
dungeon, yes.
Yeah, but once you have it, you can use this thing anywhere in this world, and it completely kind of changes traversal. It allows you to move a lot faster. You can even use it to attack, things like that. It allows you to like you can like what do you call it when you like jump onto like a railing? You can skate along the railing and stuff and get to new places. But yeah, it's not limited to that one dungeon, which is really cool. But the one thing about this game, like I think this game feels really, really, really great to play. Like combat feels really nice. I think there is a little bit of problem. I think Brad brought this up, and I kind of agree with him. It has some, because of its art style, I'm having trouble gauging some like issues with like depth and like sometimes I can't tell if I'm in front of something that's elevated or not.
Gotcha.
Which I think is just a byproduct of its art style. But I think it's a really good looking game. It's just in some scenarios it doesn't translate perfectly well. Combat feels really fucking nice. You're doing all these dodge rolls. You can parry, and if you parry perfectly, you'll stun the enemy types, and you can go in for critical damage. And you can upgrade all your weapons and like unlock new abilities and stuff with them. Like the whole thing is just a really tight package, and it works really fucking well. Like the one thing is because people keep talking about this time limit or whatever as being stressful, and I'm not really feeling the stress of it yet. But now I'm starting. There's one character in particular that's back in my village that like I keep having to go back and give her meteor dust because while everybody else is like still has like over 100 hours left, she has like she got down to like 5 hours left today, and I was like, fuck, she's gonna die if I don't go give her this meteor dust. But I don't want her to die, and I'm starting to feel like the game is structured in such a way that someone is gonna die, and that's kind of just an inevitability, and you kind of have to deal with it. So I'm just waiting for that moment to drop when it's like, okay, I only have so much meteor dust. And I can't just keep giving. I think I already maxed out my relationship with that one person. So at this point, I'm just giving her meteor dust to keep her alive, but I'm not furthering my relationship with anybody else. So I'm getting to the point where I'm going to have to start making decisions, like hard decisions as to where I actually use.
So do you let the people you care about die in order to potentially further a relationship with someone else who maybe you might end up caring about more?
Yeah.
But the thing is too, like the lady that's getting closer to dying. She's a shopkeeper. She sells you cogs, which are you can equip 4 cogs at a time on your character, and you can activate them at any time. So like they could be like attack cogs. So while it's turning, the next like 20 hits that you make contact with will be plus 20% damage, or defense will be boosted. Like the next 3 hits you take won't yield any damage. They'll just kind of be absorbed, that kind of thing. So she sells you these cogs. So when she dies, my only option to get cogs is to, one, find them in the world, or craft them. So I have to find the crafting materials and stuff. So like if I just let her die, I no longer have that easy like, oh, I'll just go spend $20 and buy this extra cog. She'll be gone. So I'm starting to kind of feel the walls closing in a little bit, and I'm gonna have to start making some hard decisions. And like right now, I feel like I'm just kind of skating by and rolling with it. So I'm not feeling the pressure yet, but it's coming, and I'm kind of into it. And this, the story so far is interesting. I'm getting all kinds of flashbacks that kind of show what was leading to her having amnesia, and like what she represented before her memory was lost, and kind of stuff. It's like this is a really fun game, and the fact that I'm playing it as just part of the Game Pass subscription, and it's one of my favorite games that I played that came out last year, says a lot, I think. So highly recommend it, especially if you like Zelda games. But again, if like the stress of like a timer, like a ticking clock, is maybe too much for you, this is going to be very stressful because everybody has a ticking clock.
Well, apparently Prince in chat is saying that you can turn off those timers. Apparently,
you can. I think you can as like a setting, just like a general like. If you want that to be, if you don't want that to affect your experience, you can turn it off. But I'm of the opinion that I think it's kind of core to the experience so far. And I was talking to Jeff about it earlier because I was trying to wrap my head around it, and I was like, am I in danger of like, if I don't use my time well, is there like am I gonna fail the entire game? And while he didn't answer that question directly, he just kind of said, things just kind of tend to work out. So my opinion of this game next week could be totally different. I have no idea. This is one of those situations where it's like, in most cases at this point, I would be like, I'm super comfortable putting this in my top 10, even though I haven't finished it yet. But I'm like, I feel like I should maybe make sure I can get to the end of this game without like completely failing out of it before I decide if I want to put it in my top 10. But
well, you're running out of time, buddy.
I'm working on it, Chris Davis. I'm moving forward to the assumption that it's going to make my list, but it's one of those games, man. The ticking clock could change everything. So we'll see. It's called Unsighted. If you have a Game Pass subscription, it's free. Check it out. Very, very cool.
This really wasn't the image of what I thought this game was. For some reason in my head, I was thinking like an Inscription, like kind of like a really dark and moody kind of thing.
I mean, that is not the picture in my head that I had of it, but I had heard. I think Jeff talked about this briefly last time he was on the show, and we didn't have footage. He was just kind of describing it to me, and I was like Googling it or whatever, and I was like, that is not at all what I pictured. And even going from like looking at screenshots to actually playing the game is a big leap, because when I looked at the screenshots of it, I was like, that doesn't look like a Zelda-like to me really at all. But now that I'm like 6 or 7 hours into it, I'm like, oh, this is totally scratching that Zelda itch, like hardcore. So if you like Zelda and you don't mind the ticking clock, which, like Nolan said, I think you can turn off, check this game out. It's pretty great all the way around.
Hey, I like that tension. Like games like Majora's Mask, Dead Rising, things with like built-in timers have a specific reason for existing there. Yeah, I like that.
And it definitely has like, it's built into the lore. So if you're into that kind of thing, it's definitely here. So if you like the idea of like Link to the Past by way of Majora's Mask, I think might be the best way to describe this.
That's a nice way to pitch. I do like that combo.
Check it out. Before we throw back to Nolan for his other game, Chris Davis, you didn't put anything on the dock. Did you have anything you wanted to mention tonight, game-wise?
Nothing really. I've been just so busy over the past few weeks just doing other things. The 2 things I can mention are that I have finished the first 2 endings to Nier Replicant.
Ooh. 3 more to go.
Actually, yeah, literally there are 3 more endings to go. My problem is that I don't think I would be able to do that because in order to access those remaining endings, I have to have all the weapons in the game. I have to own all the weapons. And the way the game is structured is that some of the weapons when you beat the game, when you kind of load that save up again, it takes you back to like the midpoint of the game. And there's exclusive weapons from the first part of the game that you cannot gain access to anymore. So like I would have to replay the entire fucking thing over again.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I don't. So I played the original Nier, which is what this is based off of, this is what a remake of that essentially. And I'm more. I remember more kind of the hoops he had to jump through for Nier Automata, for obvious reasons. It's newer, and that's kind of the thing that took off with popularity. So I don't remember everything I had to do. I remember I did end up getting kind of through, because there's actually like way more than 5 endings in this game, but there's 5 endings that kind of like serve as like that's the core experience. Like that's there's like when you get to the 5th ending, like that's the end of the story. And I did get that, and I remember at some point kind of feeling overwhelmed and kind of like, I don't know if I can do this or if I want to do this. And this is being very,
in chat is saying vague. That I can buy them after the first ending now.
Okay. See, like they.
If that's the case, then yes, I am willing to go back, because after getting that first playthrough and then going back and doing the B playthrough and then getting that extra context, it changes like the complete tone of the game.
Yeah.
It's
that's
really
that's the cool shit. That's the cool shit. And I this is being very vague because I don't remember all the specifics, but I just remember being kind of in the same boat you're in right now, and then thinking, and then doing the research and finding out what my options were, and then being like, oh, okay, they definitely make it easier. Like, they don't ever kind of like lock you out. If I remember, I don't think they lock you out of being able to get to that point, get to those extra endings that you need to like see the full story play out. So. And it's never like they make you feel like you're gonna have to like run through the entire game again, and it's really not that. I don't think. I think there's like two or three runs where you're like doing like a bulk of the content, and the last like 2 or 3 are just like boom, boom, boom. You do like a couple things, and then and then it triggers the ending.
Okay.
Or whatnot. I might be kind of talking out of my ass. I might be Nier Automata, but these games are fucking weird. Who the hell knows? I'm not a Nier expert, but
well. I mean,
you can do it.
If I would have stopped after the A ending and not continued on, I would not have this anywhere near my list, because there's something about the A ending where you're missing so much information. And it just feels kind of fucking shallow. And honestly, the first half
keeps going.
The first half of the game is like a kind of a fucking drag. But then you get the time jump.
I think it's one of those things where you kind of have to. I don't want to say rush through the first part, you get to the first ending, but I think that it behooves you to do that. It's one of those things similar to Dragon Age, was it Inquisition, where it's like, get the fuck out of the hinterlands. Just get the fuck out, and then the real game starts.
I made that mistake.
Nick. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to play it, just get through the first ending. Yes, I get it that there might be some stuff you might miss. But I mean, just kind of getting through that first part, I think just opens up so much. And changes things, and yes, the pace definitely changes as well. But yeah,
those games are so.
I mean,
cool,
also, aren't there like 30 something endings of that game or something, or 26 endings or whatever?
I think it's like one for every letter of the alphabet or something.
Yeah, I know some of them are a bunch of like BS. Yeah, some of them are really dumb, but yeah.
Okay, I was only aware of endings A through E, so like
there's a lot more than that.
I do know that like. When you complete the 4th ending, the game basically removes your save, and you only gain access to that after you get the 5th ending. Like, it completely cuts you out of access to that content.
Yep,
it's weird, man. They're weird.
Chris Davis. How about that music though?
He's about to do this to us. He's get out of here.
Here's what I'll say is that
Crispy doesn't like it either.
When the music wants to be, it can be really fucking good. The problem I have with it is that they use the same short loops over and over and over again in every single area, and there's no difference. The same area is going to have the same fucking track over and over and over again.
All right, so
Um,
here's what I'll tell
But
you,
it's a
Chris
good
Davis.
track.
They are good music, and I do understand that sometimes hearing the same stuff over and over can be repetitive. What I'll say is, 3 months from now, whatever, when you're a little removed from the game, pull back up that soundtrack and tell me it doesn't fucking slam.
Oh
Like,
no,
it is.
no,
I have a Spotify list that is gaming music, and that entire soundtrack is on there. I mean, I shuffle through stuff, so I don't listen to them like in order or anything. So every once in a while, I'll get one of those near songs. No, fucking memories.
Oh no,
So good.
believe me, the main piano theme, the theme for the Airy, the theme for the junkyard ruins, like those are fucking excellent tracks. I am not
Yeah.
saying it's bad music at all. I'm just saying that how the music is used repetitively,
I gotcha.
It
wears on
It could
you.
be worse. It could be the Blue Dragon boss battle music. You know what I'm talking about.
Dude,
You know
I
what I'm
played.
talking about.
Yeah, I remember. I know. Oh God, I know.
That is the only time that I can remember that I've ever put down a game because of the music.
You know,
Specifically
it wouldn't.
because being driven insane by the music.
It wouldn't that okay, in Blue Dragon with those boss fights, if the boss fights weren't so fucking long, okay, maybe we could tolerate it. But like the fact is, like, it takes like 7 or 8 loops of that fucking same track to actually beat a boss in Blue Dragon. So like
and
no.
it's not good. And
No,
I wanted
it's
that
not.
game to be I wanted that game to be good so bad. Anyways,
And I guess the other game I played, I have dabbled a little in Battlefield 2042. I kind
Yeah.
of I got it on a deal and I installed it on my PC because I don't want to see what I was capable of, because I had been wanting to upgrade my PC for a good while. I probably have the oldest hardware here at this point. Between
older than
all of
Crispy's?
us,
I think Crispy's is pretty, or maybe
Probably.
Brad too. I don't know.
I'm still on a 7700K with a 1080, so I think everyone else is at least a 20 or 30 series graphics card. But either way, it felt like I expected, sluggish, and there's bugs and shit. But what I can report, which was pretty fucking cool, was the portal stuff, the Battlefield portal, which is all custom servers and like custom conditions they can set up. I only jumped into like a few, but the one that I really liked was an AI zombie variant in which it was a co-op mode of 8 players against hordes of World War II Germans using World War II weapons. But all the Germans had knives and you only had limited ammunition. So they were kind of like walking and running at you like they were zombies. And it was the rush mode. So you had to plant a bomb and defend it until it goes off. That was a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. I wish the base game just wasn't so fucking buggy, man.
You think that's okay? Do you think EA is going to like hold their feet to the fire and like keep polishing this game until it's like what it needs to be, or do you think they're just gonna like kind of take the hit and move on? Because you never know these days.
So I think a little of both. I think that DICE is going to get the leeway to polish up the game, make it better than it is, and try to address a lot of the issues the community has with the game in the next year. But at the same time, there is some strong talk that EA is evaluating their options with the game. And
Like
one of those
free-to-play as an
options is
option
supposed to be, some kind of variant of free-to-play transition for this game. And
Hey, free to play might give them like the extra like resources to kind of keep it afloat until like, and give them the extra like money or like it might even build their player base enough to like really justify putting the extra time into like making that game, like delivering on its initial promise.
I mean,
Like, do you think
it's not the population that's the problem. I think the problem is like the core loop of what they built here, because they designed the game for the core game, the All Out Warfare, is designed for 128 player matches. And as part of that design, they've also incorporated hero classes. So you're playing as one of 10 characters, basically, with no character customization. Um, a fair amount of like class editing, but like nothing that really feels strong enough to encourage strong teamwork. So there's no encouragement in the game at all at this point, based on the mechanics, for you to play with your squad, play with your team. So everyone's just running around and just shooting each other without any coordinated gameplay going on. And that's not what Battlefield historically has been about. It's about sticking with your squad, using your character classes to their strengths, and dominating the battlefield in a coordinated fashion. And that's not what 2042 is right now.
It's just utter chaos.
It is.
Uncoordinated chaos.
There's just so many things. Like, again, when the gaming does not encourage squad gameplay and really teamwork, and you're just kind of soloing out there, there's just so many stresses that are put on you. Like the fact that the game really doesn't spawn like a lot of vehicles for you to get around, and the maps are fucking huge, man. Like, it will take you a good 3 or 4 minutes to get between the checkpoints, the places where you have to battle for control.
And are you talking about like if you're like driving as opposed to like hoofing it on foot?
Yeah, like driving, maybe, yeah, you'll be there like a hot minute, but like walking, it takes for fucking ever. And also like the vehicles are absurdly overpowered right now. It feels like 2042 was designed with a very pro vehicle stance in it. So they are not only take absurd amounts of damage to kill, but they also deal damage out in factors I haven't seen in a Battlefield game before.
So it sounds like honestly, it sounds to me like they needed, not only did it need more time in the oven, just in general from a development standpoint, they needed some more playtesting and like balancing prior to launching this thing. And now that everybody has their hands on it, it's just like,
that's what this is, Nick. This is playtesting and balancing right now.
Yeah, this honestly, this game could have used another year. It could have had it needed that Halo Infinite kind of delay to delay it for a year.
It sucks.
Like the core ideas that are here are cool. These gigantic maps with a shit ton of verticality, that really the franchise has never dealt with. And the idea is, I have yet to try the Hazard Zone mode, which is the Battle Royale light mode thing.
Yeah.
But the Portal mode is the best of the bunch here, and that could, if they wanted to, they could spin that off into its own thing, and I think it would do much better than the base game.
That could be a thing. You never know. Like some of the sentiment you're describing of like needing more time in the oven and like really cool ideas, but not necessarily getting it to the point where it needs to be to like really capitalize on them. It's reminding me a lot of like the way we talk about Cyberpunk and how like so many cool ideas, but like it launched in a poor state, and it's like, I feel like if that game had waited a year and launched, it'd be a totally different story. And I feel like Battlefield 2042 is going to be in the same spot. Like if they had waited until 2022 and they had polished it up, I think people would be like, I feel like nobody's talking about this game, and it's kind of a shame because like it looked so amazing, but like now that it's out there and people already have kind of this like opinion of it now, it's just kind of like the whole thing is tarnished. And it's like, how do you kind of dig yourself back out of that? Which
I don't necessarily agree with that comparison. Because I played all the way through Cyberpunk to its completion, so I got to experience the whole story and most of the side content. And again, it was buggy as fuck. I had to restart the game probably every hour just to get it to run decently on my fucking console. Yeah. But like, what was there built into that narrative, like there's a reason why it got on my top 10 that year. You know?
No, I know. I'm over here still thinking to myself, like, I can't believe I still haven't played Cyberpunk 2077, but I feel like I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that. I don't like that something like that announcement for them to say like this is like the single biggest improvement we've made to the game, or like now this is like, you know, it's probably going to come in the form of like, here's the Game of the Year edition which has like all of the improvements we've made or whatever.
Yeah.
When they, you know, I'm just waiting for that, and
the
Battlefield
thing
2042 is just.
the thing about
I think
2042.
it's doomed to kind of the same fate.
Well, maybe. The thing about 2042 is that we know it was a Frankenstein project, that it was a bunch of different ideas that got completely repurposed and redesigned after a point to where they could not afford to throw anything out. Like originally this was supposed to be a battle royale Call of Duty Warzone kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it went through a total redesign, and then it went through another total redesign. And there's too much in there from too many ideas for different projects. They just don't meld. Like again, the hero, the idea that you have no custom characters, it's 10 set heroes, and they all have the same fucking lines and the same fucking abilities, and the idea just does not match up to the class-based gameplay that this series is built on.
Yeah.
So, I
Damn
don't know.
shame.
It is a shame. I do want to play more of it, but I'm gonna wait until I build my new computer or I do my rebuild. I haven't decided which one, and then I'll check it out. I have a feeling that 6 months from now, it's going to be in a real stable state, and people will start to gravitate back to it. But right now, yeah, they're still talking about updates they're not doing any updates for this game, and they haven't done any updates since before the holiday break. They're not doing any until like mid to late February.
Yeah.
It's not good.
It's a shame. All right, Nolan, you
Mm-hmm.
have one more game you wanted to talk about, right?
I mean, I can talk about a couple. I've played actually a lot of games since our last podcast. I don't need to go into too many details about the other ones, but I will say that I finished Honey Pop 2, Double Date. Um, I had to because it was a gift.
I was thinking about, like, if I play this, what if I record footage and we just play it for the podcast, but just have Chris Davis like blur the whole thing out, and then we talk about it with a straight face the entire time.
I mean, we
that's
did
one way
that
to
for
do it.
your porn game that you played, Nick.
Ah, yeah, we did do that, didn't we?
Lust
Shit.
from Beyond, I think.
Lust from Beyond. I played that. Yeah, that game goes places.
So finished that. I also have been playing a lot of Stardew Valley with Bernadette. Probably like I think we're at like over 100 hours now. Our co-op farm. And then also for some reason I kind of got back into Monster Train. And so I've been playing a lot of Monster Train as well. That game is so good.
Nice.
But anyway, the other actual game that is a newer one that I've been wanting to talk about because I started is also on Game Pass. Is Dodgeball Academia. And
I've never heard of this game.
Footage of that one. You're about to find out about it.
It had the word academia in it, and I was like, is this another Honey Pop situation? I wasn't entirely sure. And then I looked it up, I was like, okay, definitely not.
I wasn't even certain if that was an actual title for the game.
I don't know. The word academia for me just like makes me think of like it makes me think of anime, and it makes me think of school, and then that makes me think of like anime school, like schoolgirls. Are we going in that honey pop direction? I'm not entirely sure. I googled it. I figured it out. Well, that was just where my brain immediately went. I mean, you did just finish Honey Pop. It's not entirely out of the realm of possibility.
I mean, the reason you probably think of anime is that one of the most popular series going right now is called My Hero Academia.
That is probably why, yes.
And
anyways, Dodgeball Academia.
It very much it has inspiration from My Hero Academia, which don't get me wrong. Yes, I understand that My Hero Academia also has inspiration from this whole concept
Tons.
of a kid going to a new school, either kind of being a slice of life type thing where it's more down to earth, or being super out there and unrealistic. Have both have been done. This, I would say, kind of splits those hairs. Um, in that, in My Hero Academia, it is a kid going to a school of superpowered people, versus this, it's a kid going to a school, and I don't get me wrong, they definitely have people with powers, but it's all about dodgeball. And so it is all about this kid Otto, trying to make his way. He's coming from a lesser known school, and this is the best
Also a
school.
dodgeball school?
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh, okay.
They're all dodgeball. I
Yeah,
mean,
of
so
course.
one of the things that kind of starts this game is, there was this like great war, dodgeball war, I think, that was ended by this one dodgeball that was thrown, and it's still spinning to this day. It landed in this rock, and it has been spinning ever since. And the new kids, when they come to the school, they touch the ball, and that's where they get their special powers from, to be able to play dodgeball.
As one
Uh,
does. Yeah.
yeah. But that being
I mean,
said, there's also like first and foremost, this is definitely an RPG. You are running around, you are going into battles, you are getting experience, you are leveling up, you're getting items, you're getting special gloves for dodgeball, or like earrings or whatever that do different things for your abilities. There is Pokemon elements to it, in which you're running down a hallway and someone's like, "Hey, you stop! We're gonna play dodgeball," and you're forced into a dodgeball match. Very much reminiscent of like when you're running on Pokemon and someone forces you into a Pokemon battle.
man, school would have been so much more fun if like that was the reality. You know what I mean? Like you're walking around high school and someone was like, "You," and then suddenly you're like in a dodgeball game in the middle of the hallway. Like,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be dope?
Yeah.
I'd be all over
Um,
that.
there, I get vibes of like almost like Persona. You're at this thing and you go back to your dorm, and you can sleep at your dorm and do a few things there, and then you kind of can talk with people, and interact with them and kind of explore the world. There's like chests in the world that you can find and open up, and there's items in them. So definitely, like I said, first and foremost, an RPG. I'm definitely not as far into it as I'd like. I'm going to play more because I have been enjoying it. But then when you get into the actual dodgeball, is it, if you're watching us live, you can see some footage of it. And, you'll see people with different abilities and stuff. So right now, my team is small. It's me and Mina, and we have this one other person with his balloony, but he doesn't really want to fight, in the footage at least, because he's afraid that his head will get hit and get deflated. But so
Deflated.
like, myself, yeah, he has like this big like giant balloon head, because there are definitely some like non-humanoid people around. But anyway, so Otto, like everyone, it seems like as of right now, kind of to an extent, has different abilities. So like you have your throw, and you maybe do a jump throw, but Otto also has like a counter, and his counter is literally he'll grab the ball, like any dodgeball game. If you grab the ball, you don't get out. Conversely, also, if someone throws a ball at you, you can throw a ball and knock it out of the air. But I also have a character with me, Mina. Her ability is like a counter, is that she kicks the ball. So if a ball's coming at her, she can kick it and knock it back at like a faster rate. So it maybe make it a little more difficult for them, the people you're battling with, to dodge it or catch it or whatever.
Right.
But they had kind of a new mechanic, which I've never really seen in dodgeball in some of the battles, and that when you defeat one of the people, you bring their HP down to 0, they get knocked out, the game kind of pauses for a second, and then they go behind you. And so if a ball goes past you and they catch it, they can throw the ball from behind you. So now you're having to kind of defend from two areas.
Oh,
So it adds a little more
that's cool.
difficulty. Thankfully, in all the battles I've been in, at least so far, I haven't let any balls go past me. So I haven't had to deal with that, but I'm fairly certain that will probably happen in the not too distant future. But you have like your characters, and you kind of switch between them. They're always there, but you can kind of switch between them if you want to start using their abilities, or maybe you're starting to get low on HP. You can switch to the other character to kind of take over them using their main abilities.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so far I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's very, like I said, that kind of anime RPG inspired kind of kid, super excited about, I'm ready to get going and I'm gonna be the best dodgeball player.
Another lighthearted affair. It seems
Oh yeah, for sure.
light and fun.
But I'm looking forward to playing more of it. I know someone not too long ago was recommending I play it. I can't remember who now because my memory's horrible. Um,
Like someone from the
uh,
community.
yeah, someone from the community had reached out and was like, hey, it was like, oh, I think it was Shikuski. Was like, I think you'd be really, and so it's been on my to do list for a long time, but I finally started playing it. But so far, really enjoying it. Looking forward to playing more. Oh, like I just kind of remembered from some of the footage. A lot of the times when you start the dodgeball game, the balls are normally in the middle, but if you have the advantage, the balls will actually be on the opponent's side, so they can get to them quicker. And so
Yeah.
like any kind of like sporting game in like where you have a small little area that you're playing in the court. If you cross the middle line, you can, but you move super slow. And so it's one of those things where it's maybe if they're very far away and there's a ball that's kind of right across, it might be beneficial for you to try and cross real quick to grab it. And if both people are able to grab a ball at the same time, they go into this like kind of slapping match where they're trying to
a little slap fight.
where
Yeah.
you're trying to slap the ball out of the other person's hands. So there's kind of this kind of
Are you like rapidly pressing a button to like do that?
you
Or something?
gotta tap X like super fast to try and get it before they can. But yeah, it's pretty enjoyable so far. I'm definitely going to continue this one. I don't know how long it is. I don't think it's super long. But I'm having a lot of fun with it so far.
Am
Yeah,
I
it looks charming.
crazy?
Looks
The
charming.
the art style really looks like the Amazing World of Gumball for some reason to me.
Amazing.
I've never
World
heard of that, so I don't know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
That's a new one for me too.
It's a cartoon that's been out in the past 15 years. Either
Hmm.
way, it's a good show. But no,
The Googles.
evidently the developer has affiliations with Cartoon Network for a very similar project with a similar art style. So maybe there's a
Interesting.
connection there.
Maybe if you dig deep
Oh,
enough, you'll find it.
One thing I forgot that I just kind of remembered that, yeah, like I saw that when I finished that battle or whatever, it is modern times. So like the kind of ending battle screen, like you're looking at your phone to see your stat updates and stuff like that. It is very much like kind of what kind of this world, obviously, who doesn't have a phone nowadays, and so some kid at school is getting like updates on their phone. Well, I know, Chris, but I'm saying in general. But yeah, so far definitely fun. I'm gonna continue this one.
Cool. Dodgeball Academia, that's called.
Mhm.
All right, let's take a quick break. Brad has another update for us, I believe. Am I right,
Yep.
Chris Davis? Cool. We'll play that, and then we'll come back, and I think we're going to dive into a little discussion about the big Microsoft Activision news this week. Because
Oh, was there news about
how
something
can we
like
not
that?
talk about that? Yeah, it's
It was a little bit.
little bit of an announcement they had this week, so we'll talk about that. We'll answer a couple questions from our listeners who emailed in, and then we'll wrap up with the 4-player minute. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome to Brad's Weekly Update. Today we have some stuff to try, stuff I've never seen before, exciting. Henry's back there eating a piece of a pizza. We have some fantasy mix, fantasy mix, which is interesting. Also, I have some Oreos. Not double stuffed, not triple stuffed, but most stuffed Oreos. Which looks a little absurd, don't you think? Isn't that a little crazy, Henry?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, normally in these videos, I tell you about what I've been playing. Usually when it's new, I have not been playing anything new. Next week is our Game of the Year awards show, and I like to finish up playing 2021 stuff until then, and that's what I'm working on. Knee deep in Lost Judgment. I'm very far into that, doing everything pretty much. It's taking way too much time. I don't know. I feel bad putting another Yakuza game on my top 10 list, but if I like it better than other things, it it is what it is, right? I don't know. I'm playing some other stuff. I'm trying to finish up the second Great Ace Attorney game, which is also great. And, some other shit. Unsighted. That's really what I've been playing. There's that Activision news. Hey, Henry, what are your thoughts on the Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard? What do you think about that? Crazy?
Yeah.
Huh? Is it crazy?
What's that kind of candy?
Do you think Sony is doomed? No? Okay. Suit yourself, fanboy. And what else? Oh, well, I was going to play some new games, but, I've been trying to finish up the 2021 stuff. So, there's actually a couple of new indie games that I really want to play. Drinkbox, makers of Guacamelee and Severed, which is incredibly underrated. Hang on, buddy.
That game right here.
Which game?
The game right here.
Oh, Psychonauts?
Yeah.
I already finished that one, dude. Anyways, there's a couple of new games from the creators of Drinkbox, creators of Guacamelee. Nobody Saves the World is it's like Diablo meets Crazy. So, I don't know, it looks pretty good. I intend to play that after I finish my 2021 wrap-up, as well as there's the second standalone expansion for Superland 6 Inches Under, which looks pretty awesome, is also out. Highly recommend that because I know it's like more Superland, and Superland is great. So, anyways, let's. I think your water's all gone. Let's dig into this stuff, Henry. What do you think? You want to try these Oreos? All right, come here, dude. Most stuffed Oreos. Look at this. Look at the picture. Dude, you got pizza all over your face. Also, you're not done with your pizza. Here, put that down. All right, come here. That one's a little too chewy for you. You're not going to be able to eat that one. But you can have this one.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry, buddy. I know you usually are able to try everything that I have, but, you know how it goes.
I want the chewy ones.
No, they're too chewy. All right, here's a most stuffed Oreo. Jeez, look how much stuffing is in there, Henry. All right, here, try one of those bad boys. Let's see.
The frosting taste.
It's what?
My cookie is good.
Look at that. It's mostly cream. Well,
And then the two chewy ones.
well, you're not going to be able to eat the chewy ones. Sorry, buddy. They're too chewy. And you're too little. That's a lot of, tastes like an Oreo. With a lot of cream.
That carrot over here.
Honestly, too much.
That candy over here.
There's candy over there?
Over here. Look at the candy. It's that candy.
Hmm?
It has this candy.
Alright, Henry, we gotta eat this. Hold on. We gotta finish this video. A fantasy high chews. Good in here. Photo op, dude. This is for the thumbnail. Alright. Again, I know you're not gonna be happy, but... Alright, fantasy flavors my ass. It's rainbow sherbet, blue Hawaii, and blue raspberry. Alright. Let's try blue Hawaii. This just tastes like pina colada. I quit. It's really, really, really chewy. I can't give it to you, buddy.
Yeah, I want to eat it.
I can't give it to you, buddy. Bye-bye.
I need to eat it.
It's too chewy for me. Yeah, it's got crowns, you know. Just be happy you got a cookie, dude. Wasn't that cookie good? Here, come here. Wear this and be cool, okay? Anyways, tastes like a high chew. I don't know. It tastes blue. Fantasy mix. I don't know. I thought it was going to be like dragon fruit or, I mean, come on. This shit writes itself.
I want to eat.
All right. Anyways, y'all have a good week. Enjoy the podcast. I'm sure they're about to talk way too much about Activision Blizzard. And make sure you show up next Thursday. I will be on the podcast next Thursday. I think we're going to start at 7 for our Game of the Year awards. It's going to be long. It's going to be exciting. And, show up to hear my picks because somebody's got to make the right choices. And it sure as hell ain't going to be these other guys. Anyways, have a good week. Goodbye. Say bye.
Bye. Wait, I want to eat two.
Okay.
So, okay, welcome back to the show, everybody. We're not obviously going to include the conversation we had during the break about farting in jars, but
I don't believe you.
If this was a conversation that you would be curious to hear, that's the kind of content you get when you tune in to twitch.tv/4Player podcast to watch us record these podcasts live every week. I'm just saying. That conversation went places. Anyways, welcome back to the show. We're going to actually stay on top. We're going to talk about video games. Before we talk about the big news this week, I know we had a few quick mentions from impressions that we didn't mention the first time around. I know Chris Davis had a couple. I have a couple I want to rattle off, but I'm going to let Chris Davis go first. Just quick mentions.
I mean, I guess the two I could really mention really quick, as part of my 2021 cleanup, D-Lit and Wonder Labyrinth, the Metroidvania-like linear kind of side-scrolling Metroidvania-light thing. I played through
a lot of descriptors in there, and one of the words you mentioned was linear, which I thought was kind of strange, while also mentioning Metroidvania twice.
I mean, it's kind of hard to describe. It's not like the openness of Symphony of the Night or like those later Castlevanias or Metroid, but it's a much tighter map, if that makes sense. I guess that's what I mean by linear. Either way, really, really enjoyed that game. The mechanics, the combat was really fun. It's got an Ikaruga like polar mechanic for magic. Which allows you to absorb enemy damage based on the color that you're equipped with, and then dole out like factors stronger damage as you power up your abilities. You're constantly
What is this game called again?
Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth, Record of Lodoss War.
Holy shit. Okay, cool.
Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth is the name.
That's a
the
mouthful.
series is Record of Lodoss War.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Really good. Really fun. You really don't need to know that much about Record of Lodoss War to get into it, which is my case because I understood what was going on. The other one was a much more sensible game, name-wise. I actually finally got and played through Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart.
Nice.
That was really fun.
Very fun game. Also very polished. Very polished.
Very polished. Very nice. I think the game really shined when it really focused on move mechanics and like exploring these fucking huge maps.
Rocket skates or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, they were like kind of like and you had to alternate the triggers to actually charge them up, and
yeah, one of the cooler uses of the DualSense I think we got this year, which was like you're alternating the triggers and you're getting that like force feedback, and it's like letting you like, each trigger controls one of your feet, so you'll be like dashing on like you're skating, but you're actually controlling your feet. It's cool. It's a cool feeling.
It's the first time I've played a Ratchet & Clank game since the very first one came out. Yeah, I'm really glad I played through it. It was really fun.
I know this is slightly off topic, but if you liked this, I think that last Ratchet & Clank game that I think was just called Ratchet & Clank on the PS4, also a very delightful game and worth. If you're ever interested in playing another game from the series, I highly recommend that one as well.
I mean, honestly, like once you have played a Ratchet & Clank game, you know what the formula is. So you should not go title to title expecting much difference apart from the weapons and the map design.
Which is funny because Ratchet & Clank is like one of those franchises that's kind of like when people talk about Infamous, they can't help but also talk about Parasite Is that what it was called? Parasite? Or what's the other game?
Prototype.
It's not Prototype. Yeah, I'm like Parasite doesn't sound right. When people talk about Infamous, they can't help but mention Prototype as well. Ratchet and Clank is kind of the same boat as like Jack. It's like you talk about Ratchet and Clank, inevitably you bring up Jack and Daxter, and Jack and Daxter is like the exact opposite. And like every game in that franchise was like wildly different than the other one. But like maybe not. It's not for the best. Like I kind of like the predictability of Ratchet and Clank. It's a very safe, comfy series, and I think Rift Apart is like one of the most polished ones in the series. I do highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun.
So what was okay? I get there's like 18,000 Ratchet and Clank games at this point. Which one
Like
was,
9,
was
yeah.
was Future on PS3 or was that PS4?
Oh,
I
Why does
really
it
can't
matter?
keep track of this stuff.
I don't know. That's
Like
a good
it's
question.
supposed to
Nolan.
be
I don't
one
know.
entire canon, storyline, right?
Who the hell knows? You
I
can
don't
play
know.
all those games independently of each other, and it doesn't really fucking matter.
Yeah, it really
But-
do. Yeah.
Rift Apart's pretty good. What's the new Lady Ratchet's name again?
Rivet.
Rivet, right? Rivet was good.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
Rivet.
she was really good. Yeah.
I have a couple quick mentions because we've been, we missed a couple shows and then we've been doing preview show and stuff. I played through the Forgotten City, which I think Nolan, you said you just started.
Yeah, I've literally started. I'm not very far into the game at all. Maybe 45 minutes to an hour. So not very far at all.
It's a pretty good game. That's a game that goes places, interesting places. It is
That's what
one of
I
those
hear.
things because it's like it was born from a Skyrim
Mhm.
mod or whatever.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. And made by like 4
Yeah.
guys or something like that.
And once
Or
and
3
it was-
guys over 4 years or something like that. Yeah.
it's like one of those situations though. As soon as every time I remember that, I just like I can't unsee it. It's like I feel like I'm playing a Skyrim expansion here, but still really really cool story, really fun, a lot of twists and turns, nice atmosphere, cool game. Do highly recommend that. I also played through Lost in Random, which I may have mentioned briefly on the show.
Yeah.
Cool little game. Reminds me a lot of like a Tim Burton Fever Dream type thing where you roll the dice and battle with cards. It was also like it's like Alice in Wonderland meets Tim Burton meets like a deck building thing.
We
I don't know.
talked about this on a show. I don't remember which one, but we have.
All
No,
right.
no, yeah.
Well,
Nick did talk about it before on a show. I think right before the end of the year. I think.
could not remember. We've talked about inscriptions. Yeah, I think that kind of. Oh, and I finished Guardians of the Galaxy. Played all the way through
You did.
that. That game is.
I've been hearing good things. I think Brad was really highly recommending it to me, and it is something that is on my to-do list. I just haven't gotten around to it.
I do highly recommend it,
Same here.
but almost entirely because of story and characters.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. There are.
Gameplay,
Oh man, there
gameplay
are
is a
moments in
little,
that just make you go, "Wow."
no, yeah, shockingly detailed and beautiful game with great acting and fun writing. Highly recommend it. I wish the gameplay and the combat was up to the same level as everything around it, but great game. Dude,
Yeah.
it's one of those things that's like it's destined to kind of be one of those standout surprises from 2021 because I don't think anybody had like it's one of those things. It's like nobody had expectations for this and it went hard. Like it's good.
Yeah, the combat in and of itself is just kind of like too limited, especially for the scope of the characters that are available to you. But you can only play as
And it is
well-
kind of weird that you play that whole game controlling
Star-Lord.
Star-Lord but like there are other like I don't know. It's one of those things. It's kind of like I'm not sure why they didn't just let us switch between them because all the characters have like the same number of attacks and the same number of like skill trees and whatnot. So and they move and and they all those things animate. And it's just but they don't want to give you direct control over them. And there's probably some there's probably some bullshit reason why they
Yeah.
creatively they wanted you to be focused on Star-Lord the entire time. But I think it may have been a better game if you were constantly switching it up and moving between the characters. But still, highly recommend it because that story is real good. All right, that's all I have for quick mentions. Nolan, do you have any last minute mentions that you didn't already cover?
Oh my goodness, there was one more thing I think I wanted to bring up, but I can't remember what it was. If I think of it later, I'll bring it up. Anybody been playing that Wordle?
Oh
Hey.
God.
I'm gonna be honest. This is one of those things that I'm just like, I'm so out of the loop on. I'm like, I keep seeing it pop up, and I'm like, I don't get it. I know this is the new craze, right? Like, but I don't know what it
Sure.
is.
Lots of people are playing it. I'm playing it.
Lots of people are
What
playing
is
it.
it?
Lots of people are also playing clones and like terrible
Yeah.
versions too.
Nick, it's a really simple word puzzle game that I think some guy randomly did for like his girlfriend for her birthday or something.
And now he's rich.
I honestly I don't. Is he making money off of this? I mean, I guess he is to some extent, probably.
Oh yeah, he's supposed to be
but
making bank.
Max, if he's
No.
not, he's probably kicking himself right now.
Yeah. It's a very simple game where essentially you guess a 5-letter word. You type in something random, like I don't know, farts is a 5-letter word, and you would type it in, and it would tell you if you got a letter incorrect, if you got a letter correct but it's in the wrong location, or if you got a letter correct and it's in the right location, and you have 5 tries to guess the correct word, or 6, yeah, 5 tries, I think, 6 tries. To guess the correct word. And so, you know, obviously via process of elimination, if you can kind of see, oh, you know, I have this letter in the right place and this one in the right place, I can assume, you know, oh, maybe, you know, the F in fart was in the right place, but nothing else was correct. Well, then you can know it's a word that starts with F, but it's not the, and so, you know, the farther you go, the easier it becomes. I think
I mean, I feel
the
like I mean, that's a game that I feel like I've played a million times and like as like a mini game and like 100 other games.
For sure. And I think the thing that kind of took this one off is the whole like, as soon as they gave you the ability to share via an emoji how quickly you solved it or whatever and post it, you know, quickly to Twitter, that's when it really took off.
Yeah, because my feed is just inundated with these things.
White Fang brings up in chat that he thought that that the developer was doing profits. Actually, so it came out, I think, either today or yesterday that one of the knockoffs called Wordle, but it's Wardle.
Wardle.
He got like, what was it? I think 15. I want to say like $15,000 in funds from it, from people just kind of searching for Wordle because it's the hype right now. And that guy and that knockoff developer has been donating everything to charity, which has been kind of
interesting. Yeah, so this is, you know, I mean, this is not going to be a thing in like a week, right? This is going to fade.
I think it'll last a few.
Give it a
months. I think it'll be longer than a month. I definitely think it'll die off a little bit. But I also, if we want to change topics, I finally remember the game I did want to talk about. Very briefly, and it's mainly because last week, because we ended up short notice not doing a podcast, I did kind of an impromptu community night, and so I played some like Phasmophobia with the community. Excuse me. It's been a long time since I have played it. I was level 30. They were all level 300. And so it had some good times playing that. But then as the night kind of dwindled down, I ended up switching over to another multiplayer game that I had not played before, Crab Game, which is a knockoff of Squid Game from Netflix.
Oh. Which I still haven't watched either.
What? It's pretty good.
Honestly, you know, the funny thing is, like, I don't even know how this is possible. I still don't even know what Squid Game is.
Well,
Like,
honestly, Squid Game's pretty complicated. You have to like run down a line, and like it's very complicated.
I mean, I
Um,
just need to watch the show. It's one of those things that's like it's become part of the zeitgeist. Yet somehow I am still completely ignorant as to what it actually is. I know it's like I see people in weird suits doing weird things. It looks like they're on some.
If you
You
want a
don't-
reference,
you-
it's Fall Guys, but exceptionally violent.
Okay.
are you talking about the show? I was talking about Squid Game. There's a game called Squid Game.
Yeah, no, I'm
It's
talking
not
about Squid
related
Game.
to the Netflix show.
No, that is in the show.
Yeah,
Okay. Anyways, tell us about Crab Game.
So yes, it is very much a knockoff of Squid Game. That similarly, I'm sure the developers who, spent very little time and effort making this are making a decent amount of money because it is a free to play game, but you can pay for like, hats and shit.
yeah. No,
Um,
they spent tens of dollars developing it.
Yeah. But yes, it is very much similar. So, there's like red light, green light, and, kind of just a bunch of mini games. But kind of one of the fun things, I guess. Okay, yeah. Loom, our Beck posted a highlight for me playing it that Loom had captured. There was definitely some interesting times of me playing it. Mainly due to the fact that the devs spent tens of dollars developing it. So oftentimes when you go to run and make a jump, maybe there's some network lag or something, and so you
Oh,
just
no.
don't jump or something, and you run off a ledge, which happened to me a few times. But one of the kind of funny things is, and I honestly ended up muting audio a lot of it because you can hear everyone's talking, and that's kind of the point. Is you can form like little mini alliances, like, hey, I won't knock you off if you don't do this, or let's team up or something like that. But the problem is obviously I'm streaming it, and so people would be playing like licensed music out of their things, and I'm just over here yelling as I try to mute the feed or mute the in-game audio because I don't want us to get like a DMCA strike. But it's some fun stuff. At one point, me and these other guy kind of hid in a corner together, and we were talking. We're like, "Oh, dude, let's just stay over here, and no one will find us." Because there was like a mode where you had to like hit someone with a stick, and if you hit them, they have X amount of time to get rid of it or something, and if they don't, they die. But yeah, I mean, I can. It's free to play, so it's a fun little game to kind of play around with. And maybe if I'd started it a little bit earlier in the evening, I think I started it like half an hour, 40 minutes before I ended the stream. I might have played more. But yeah, it was fun enough, I guess. I can see
Fun
why people
enough.
enjoy playing it.
All right. Crab Game. New territory for me. Sounds cool. All right. Let's try our best to broach the big topic of the week. A couple days ago, Microsoft announced their intention. I stress this because obviously they announced this thing, everyone's freaking out talking about it, but it has not. There's no reason to really think that it's not going to happen, but like it's not official yet. Microsoft is purchasing Activision, acquiring Activision, which is and you have the number pulled up, Chris Davis. What was the purchase price?
The current purchase price is $68.7 billion.
So close. So close.
They couldn't throw 300 million more in for a nicer number.
No,
Nice round number. Meme-worthy number.
At $95 a share.
Oh man, it's bananas. So there's obviously a lot of conversation happening about this right now for a lot of very obvious reasons. There's so many different angles to come at this from. Kind of just the obvious. Nolan just gave me that look. Thank you. I didn't even realize that. The obvious thing here, I guess, first and foremost, is this is unless I'm mistaken, the single largest acquisition purchase in the industry that we've seen. I think people were obviously bringing. Microsoft just recently purchased Bethesda. I don't know if you have that number pulled up, but like before this, like the next highest one was like 11 billion or something like that. Like this is an insane acquisition. Like the amount of money there's
the Bethesda deal was 7.5 billion.
7.5?
Yes.
Oh my god. Okay, even worse than that. So we're talking going from 7.5 to almost six. We'll just round up. We'll just call it $69 billion. Nice. So obviously Microsoft is, and sorry, I've been saying Activision, but it's Activision Blizzard. So
Yeah.
it's not just the Call of Duty developer or publisher. It's also Blizzard, who obviously is responsible for World of Warcraft and Diablo and StarCraft and all this stuff. So big purchase. And then on top of that, you have all these layers of complexity caused by all of the shit that's been happening in Activision lately. Bobby Kotick and just toxic workplace culture and employees trying to form unions and just all kinds of crazy shit happening. And obviously Activision has been just relentlessly, rightfully so, relentlessly beat into the ground for just being kind of a shitty place to work. And everybody's up in arms, rightfully so, again, that Bobby Kotick is still running the company. So this obviously brings up the question of, will he still be running the company after this goes through? There's been some mixed reports. IGN, I think it was IGN first reported that the plan was to leave him in place, and that now it's coming out that it's looking more and more like as soon as the deal is closed, he is going to be gone, albeit gone with a hefty
golden parachute.
Golden parachute, yes.
Yeah.
Did you
and
say
I
you
can
had a
guarantee
number?
you, by the way, that he's not going to be the only one that's going to leave. I would imagine that they're going to gut the board because a lot of them are Kotick supporters that were basically shielding him from a lot of the controversy.
Right. Phil Spencer has been kind of at Microsoft has been kind of surprisingly, I don't want to say forthcoming, because I'm sure he's being very careful about how he's wording things and keeping a lot of the stuff close to the chest. But he's also just kind of casually talking about it in ways that I don't think a lot of people were expecting, maybe. So,
well, the thing about mergers like this, especially high dollar ones, is that you can announce the intention and that work is ongoing about doing it, but you can't go out and say X, Y, and Z people are no longer going to be at the company as soon as
because you don't own them yet.
Yeah, you don't own them, and that's going to affect all sorts of things like the stock price and potentially has legal issues there. So
right. So he obviously can't say certain things, and you can tell he's picking his words carefully. But like he also made a statement that said something along the lines of he's confident that the issues plaguing Activision will be addressed, which sounds a lot like and I'm not intimately familiar with like the inner workings of Microsoft versus the inner workings of Activision. All we know is that Activision has a lot of problems for a number of reasons, and Microsoft doesn't necessarily have that same reputation.
I can tell you that in looking over their board for Microsoft Gaming, over half the people on the board are women, and there's also a good majority of people of color in there too. So
yeah, I mean,
there is some fair diversity there, which is good.
I mean, which is great. It's obviously great there, but the fact of the matter is we're not really going to know what steps are being taken until the deal's done,
and we may never know what those steps are.
I mean, there's going to be certain things that are unavoidable. Like if Bobby Kotick is gone, everybody's going to know that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. But if you're talking like policy updates and things like that, specifics about studios and personnel they're in, there's a lot of stuff that we will never know.
Right.
I think it's one of those situations where a lot of it is going to be kind of, we're not going to know a lot of things except for if bad things are still happening. If bad things are still happening at the end of the day, it's going to come out. It might not come out right away, but it's definitely going to happen. And in that regard, if you just want to talk about good versus bad things, there's no doubt in my mind that layoffs are going to happen. Not because of like, we need to get rid of Bobby Kotick because he's a piece of shit. I think it's more of like we're going to quote trim some fat, which means that things are going to get canceled. who knows what, but it's definitely going to happen. It might not be something that is going to be for example, Nick likes Days Gone, right? Say they had Days Gone 2 in development, and then they were like, oh, we're going to cancel that. Obviously, I'm not really going to be upset by it because it's not something that means a lot to me, but it means a lot to Nick. So while this might not be something that's going to break the world, some crazy news, there are definitely things that are going to happen that there's going to be ramifications for this merger.
But there's also coming at it from the other side. We are talking about Activision, which is a company that over the past decade has, specifically the Activision side of things. Blizzard's maybe a little bit different, but like on the Activision side of things, they have become less and less diversified as far as their like project portfolio goes,
Yeah.
and they have until it's gotten so bad to the point where like they're basically just they're like abandoning projects in favor of putting almost all of their development talent into Call of Duty in some form or another. And
financially,
Microsoft,
that you can make an argument that would make sense. I believe
it's a cash cow, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, it's so much of a cash cow. I think the number I read a while back was that Warzone brings Activision Blizzard about $70,000 every minute.
My God,
Yeah,
damn, that's bananas. But with Microsoft acquiring Activision, because I think if this was any other studio, and like what Nolan just described, I think if that's going to be happening, you might see more of that coming up on the Blizzard side of things. But when it comes to the Activision side, like almost all of the projects they have in development, at least that we know of, are Call of Duty related. My hope, and I think a lot of people's assumption, is Microsoft has been buying up studios and making a real concerted, very obvious effort to boost their software portfolio. Like they're trying to compete more with Sony because Sony has such a reputation for having all of this exclusive IP. So Microsoft has been trying to diversify and make their portfolio more impressive. So like you would imagine buying Activision, they suddenly have access to most, if not all, of the IP that Activision owned. You would think that maybe they're going to start doing something with those IPs that Activision, without Microsoft's input, has been just completely abandoning.
You would hope so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, albeit I don't have... There's not a ton of IP that Activision currently owns that does much for me, but like things like Spyro the Dragon are gone. Crash Bandicoot is a big one, which really funny about Crash Bandicoot is that was kind of the maybe unofficial like mascot of PlayStation back in the day, and now they're owned by Microsoft. So you might see a Crash Bandicoot game pop up on a Microsoft platform. Brad is in chat and he mentioned Sekiro is now an IP. But does From Software own that IP or does Activision own that IP? I'm not sure.
I want to say it was a publishing deal in which From Software kept the IP.
I mean, that sounds right to me too. It's but potentially speaking, Activision, if it was a publishing deal and Activision kept the rights, they would own Sekiro now.
Yeah. The only publishing deal I'm aware of that in which From Software did not retain the IP was Bloodborne.
That's still a Sony thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like Activision is a huge company with a lot of IP, and even though there's not a ton of it that like does a lot for me personally, there's a lot of dormant shit there that could potentially make for cool projects or cool, revivals. You know what I mean? And they have all these studios that have maybe been interested in going back and doing these projects that have been constantly being put on Call of Duty. And then you have the aspect of like Call of Duty has become so annualized. I mean, a lot of people might argue that Call of Duty has kind of peaked in some ways in terms of like you're starting to see diminishing returns. So like it kind of makes sense that like if they were to ever rein back Call of Duty and like do the kind of what they're doing with Assassin's Creed, where it's like instead of every year, do it every 2 or every 3 years or whatever, like now might be the time to do that. And suddenly you can start letting these studios branch out and work on other things that Activision owns, and that in and of itself is exciting to me.
Yeah.
Of course, I hope that comes hand in hand with like getting rid of Bobby Kotick and like addressing all of these HR issues and all that shit. So
Yeah, Jason Schreier's
who
been doing
knows?
a lot of interviews with personnel at Activision Blizzard, and a number of the sentiments have been that Call of Duty can go off the annual release schedule.
And it probably should have years ago at this point. Like, I mean, like it's still shocking to me that I don't know why I said Metal Gear, that Call of Duty Vanguard came out last year, and I feel like nobody said anything about it. I can't remember the last time a Call of Duty game got almost no word of mouth, especially in 2021, which is a year that, arguably speaking, maybe not the most like impressive for like big AAA things. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
a lot of smaller projects, a lot of indie projects. I feel like a big AAA Call of Duty game should have maybe stood out more in a year like 2021.
There were several things going on. I mean, it had a week reveal. The reveal came only like 2 months before it actually launched, and they were still pushing the previous Call of Duty's content right up until Vanguard launched.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of reiterates the fact that like Activision is so like it just seems they're so kind of laser focused on Call of Duty, and it almost seems like they're kind of doing the bare minimum because that's all they feel like they need to do because it just rakes in so much money. This as far as a diversification opportunity for Activision, this seems like a really good thing. It seems like a good thing for
Let's hope
Microsoft,
so.
obviously, because Microsoft now has basically the controlling factor in Call of Duty as a franchise, which is a huge, huge deal. Although today there was Phil Spencer again being wording shit carefully, but also being surprisingly forthcoming and kind of, trying to push maybe this is one of those situations where it's like this. We're talking about corporate entities and people running corporations, and so there has to be a certain level of like suspicion, right, with everything that they say.
Of course.
But at the same time, Phil Spencer's out there tweeting about like just had a phone call with the leaders at Sony. We've talked about Call of Duty and we have every intention of keeping Call of Duty as a multi-platform game so that Call of Duty is on PlayStation, and then pushing this narrative that I think they're really trying to like push about being like this general ecosystem for the industry, like Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, all being quote unquote important figures in the industry, and like having a certain amount of respect for each other, which is nice to see. I don't know how much of it is like legitimate, but it's still a nice sentiment to see out there, so that's cool.
Well, the way you worded it wasn't, exact. But you got the sentiment of what they're doing.
I mean, here I can pull up because Brad's in chat. He says maybe I should just read the tweet.
Yeah,
maybe I
you should read
just
it
go
correctly.
back. Hold the phone. Where did it go? Here we go. Phil Spencer tweeted today at 3:15. He said, "Had good calls this week with leaders at Sony. I confirmed our intent to honor all existing agreements upon acquisition of Activision Blizzard and our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Sony is an important part of our industry and we value our relationship." Very carefully worded. It sounds almost like a press release. And obviously it's probably went through
I mean, it's PR.
a number of
Probably
things.
is, yeah.
Yeah. Right. I appreciate the sentiment. But, and this is obviously a lot of gobbledygook right now. We don't really know any of the specifics of these talks and these agreements, whatever. The important thing is they wanted to reassure fans, because a lot of people, especially big Call of Duty fans, are probably freaking the fuck out, especially if they play on PlayStation. It's like, what does this mean for my favorite franchise? It seems to right now, one way or another, there's obviously going to be deals happening, and there's going to be more. It's not going to be as cut and dry as this, but it seems like they want to reassure people that Call of Duty, one of the biggest franchises in the world, will continue to be on both platforms. So I think that's a good thing. but it's kind of hard to tell what that actually means when you get right down to it.
I mean, I think the elephant in the room is that Call of Duty will continue on PlayStation.
Yeah.
But the years of exclusivity agreements and content agreements between Activision Blizzard that have been going on like 5 years at this point, that's coming to an end. That's no longer going to be. But there is no reason, there is no upside to Microsoft just straight cutting Call of Duty off of PlayStation. There's no reason to do that.
No, it's not that there's no reason. They would lose money.
Yeah,
It's
they
one
would
of those
absolutely
things
lose money. That's the
where
thing.
I'm sure, obviously, PlayStation or Sony's going to take a cut, but it's one of those things where that's, the fact that, and I don't know how long it's been cross-platform, but I mean, that does nothing but good for them.
Yeah.
And if you can have some game that's on Sony that, yes, Sony takes a cut of potentially because it's on their system, but at the end of the day, you still make the overall profits from it. It would be silly for them to get rid of it.
Microsoft is now the controlling interest in Call of Duty. So like, and there's also a lot of the conversation right now has been centered around too, because so much of Microsoft's strategy right now is centered around Game Pass and making Game Pass, like if Sony's strategy, which has been working really well for them, and it probably will continue to work really well for them, is to create a portfolio of really strong IP that, like, I've seen people throw around the word like prestige gaming or whatever on PlayStation. Correct. If that was their strategy, it's working for them. Microsoft seems to be going the route of, well, if that's it, our avenue of competing here is Game Pass, which is pure value. Like, how much value can we give to our customers who pay for this subscription service? And that seems to be really working for them so far. So it seems to me like the strategy is ultimately going to be, like, if you look down the line, getting Game Pass on as many things, getting it out there as many things as possible. A lot of people have been like, are we ever going to see Game Pass on PlayStation?
Well, so that was going to be the thing I bring up next, is what does this mean for PlayStation Plus? Do we think we're going to see a change in PlayStation Plus because of this?
Well, we know there's a PlayStation Plus change coming.
Correct. We do know there's something coming at like a higher cost, right? Like
Project
a new tier
Spartacus,
or whatever,
I believe is what it's called.
Yes, Spartacus. But what's happening right now is that you can no longer buy subscriptions to PlayStation Now. That has been stripped from retailers across the world this past month. And
you know why that is, Chris Davis? Because it's fucking horrible.
I mean,
every game people played on PlayStation Now with my really fucking fast internet connection has played badly.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything about the quality. I'm just saying that's why you're not seeing that. That's what Project Spartacus is, really.
Well,
the merger of those two ecosystems into one unified, subscription.
So here's the question, because the Project Spartacus thing we could also talk about as a separate thing, and that's supposed to be announced, like revealed, hopefully this quarter, like spring 2022, right? So we'll probably have more information about that soon. The question is, does this acquisition and these talks with Microsoft suddenly shift the goalposts or shift the plan?
That's what I'm asking.
But like I feel like I feel like it's probably an inevitability that because Game Pass is becoming insanely.
Well, so here's the thing, Nick. Here's the thing. Let's talk about Game Pass and PlayStation Plus. With Game Pass, I pay X number of dollars a month. I don't remember how it is because however many years ago I bought like 3 years worth of subscription to it. Yeah. So I have plenty of Game Pass. So it's not something I necessarily worry about. Conversely, I have the same thing with PlayStation Plus. Right. Here's the thing. I can go on my Game Pass app and I can find a game that's on there and I can say, I want to play this and download it and I'm good. That's not how PlayStation Plus works. I have, every month they put out new games. The difference is, as soon as I download that game, I own it forever, provided I am still paying for PlayStation Plus. As soon as I stop, I don't have access. But if I renew that access, I get access to everything I had before back. It's not like it disappears. With Game Pass, things leave Game Pass all the time. Yeah. There's stuff that's about to leave Game Pass now, and it's like all of a sudden you lose access to that. So which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the one that gives you access to content? There's some game on Game Pass or sorry, on PlayStation Plus that I got for free. Yes, obviously I know I paid for it in my subscription, 4 years ago, that potentially is no longer on Game Pass, but I can get it on my PlayStation now. And so
there's another factor.
does that change that model?
There's a whole other factor to this, which is Game Pass is moving heavily towards like big AAA releases being day and date.
Day
So even if
one, having access to that, and some people might say that's a better deal.
Even if like
I have both right now, so I don't care.
Yeah, I know it's they're both good deals for different reasons, but like if the next Call of Duty is day and date on Game Pass, even if it leaves in 6 months, imagine just the sheer number of people who are going to pay for a subscription so they can play Call of Duty for $10 right out of the gate, as opposed to paying $60 right out of the gate is kind of massive.
A big deal.
But like the cool thing is, I'm really liking this idea, at least on paper, anyways, or from our level, seeing what's happening. I'm enjoying this I don't want to use the word camaraderie because I don't think that's what it is, but like the conversations that are happening and between Sony and Microsoft, because I think it only ends up one way or the other being a good thing for us as players, as consumers, whatever, in the long run. Because I think we're all. Are we moving? Do we all here think kind of we're eventually moving towards like a singular console future, or you know what I mean, or like all digital future? Like at some point, these things are just gonna become kind of interlocked, anyways.
I think it's one of those things where competition breeds innovation. I think if we were to get rid of, it's like, oh well, if we get rid of PlayStation and we just have Microsoft, there's still Nintendo for company. But like I don't think, and I've been saying this for years, Nintendo is a completely different thing. I see PlayStation and Xbox over here, and PC as well, and Nintendo's over here. They're doing different things.
Right.
I don't see PlayStation or Xbox going anywhere anytime soon.
No,
I think those have to exist because they drive each other to go further. Nintendo is not making PlayStation think, oh god, we got to do this thing because Nintendo just put out another Mario Party. Like they are not worried about Nintendo.
No. There's the meme right now that has like the 3 kids, and it's like the 2 of them are like fighting, they're going at each other, and then there's the one guy in the background that's taking like a huge bong rip. You've seen it, just like over here doing his own thing. Yeah, I saw one the other day that was like Sony and Microsoft like yelling at each other, and then Nintendo's in the background just like, what? Just doing their own thing. Like I don't give a shit. And that, I mean, it's kind of accurate. But like at the end of the day, these talks that are happening between Sony and Microsoft, ultimately, I think are good things. It's gonna be a long time before we kind of see the ramifications of this deal, but because of who it is, like because of who's acquiring who, and the conversations it's forcing them to have with Sony, like this whole thing just seems like it's ultimately going to be a good thing.
Yeah,
I think.
Just to be clear,
I hope the important like social aspects, like the the workplace culture stuff, like that is super fucking, like if all these other good things happen, but like the culture doesn't change, and Bobby Kotick is still doing his fucking thing in a year. At this point, I don't, it fucking sucks that it's gonna take a golden parachute to get rid of him, but he needs to be gone.
Well, not just him. Like get rid of the board. Get rid of a lot of the problem personnel that are at Activision and especially in Blizzard.
It is promising though, just to kind of hear. I mean, the sentiment kind of expressed that like confidence in changes happening is a good thing, because it's been so stagnant for so long at that company.
Yeah. Just to clarify, the deal, according to the press release, is expected to close in fiscal year 2023.
Yeah, so it's going to be a while.
It's probably June next year, like what happened with Bethesda.
Right.
Do we want to take a moment to talk about like what we hope comes from this deal? Like we've really talked about like the dynamics, but like not necessarily what we want to come from it.
I mean, sure. It sounds like you have something in mind specifically. Like for me, like Activision doesn't mean a lot. Even Blizzard doesn't mean a lot to me because I don't play Warcraft and I don't like World of Warcraft or Warcraft 3 or StarCraft. You know what I mean? Like those just
Yeah.
aren't
Yeah.
big games for me. Even Diablo, I mean, and Overwatch, right? Uh, None of those games mean a lot to me. And like the first thing that comes to mind on the Activision side, aside from Call of Duty, obviously, is like I don't know, Spyro the Dragon, which it's not really blowing my skirt up or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So,
understand that.
Yeah.
I mean,
but if you have something in mind, by all means.
I've got several things. For one, Activision, like we mentioned, has and by the way, this stems from a very fun discussion that we had in the Discord today on the gaming channel. But I'm going to speak to that. But Activision has a huge IP catalog to it.
Oh yeah.
And not just like big name stuff. We're talking a lot of early 2000s and 90s IPs that really have never seen the light of day again. And I can picture a scenario in which we get a sort of Activision replay compilation thing, similar to what
Are you
Rare
thinking
Replay
like
was.
of like the Rare Replay thing?
Yes, which was a great collection of the entire history of that company. And it had modern titles, it had a lot of the older stuff, and a lot of the exclusive stuff that never got ports to anything. So you've
That
got
would be
things like
cool.
Pitfall and the Quest games, a bunch of just like really old stuff that the generation that's listening to this podcast probably doesn't give a damn, if not even understands that these things existed. But I think that could be like a really nice, like, this is what Activision was, and we can build off that product.
Sure.
Another thing I've thought about is that, it has been 10 years since StarCraft 2 came out.
Oh, are you about to mention StarCraft Ghost?
No, not Ghost.
Okay.
I think Ghost is dead.
There's no way Ghost is happening, but
No.
I also don't think that magically out of thin air we're gonna get like another StarCraft.
No, and that's again. This is
coming
kind of reaching
someday,
for the
right? Like
stars.
it's an inevitable thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like every major franchise. Is
I'm
inevitably going
sure.
To
Sorry, let me rephrase. Do I think we're ever going to have another StarCraft? For sure. It's one of those things where, when StarCraft 2 came out, everyone was so excited. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to say it was a letdown, but it definitely was not as great as everyone was hoping it was going to be.
Oh, it ended up
but I'm fairly-
launching as like 3 standalone almost expansions,
Yeah, but I am fairly certain that if we were to hear about a StarCraft 3, people would be pretty excited for it.
Yeah, but I specifically mentioned that because I think there's a good opportunity here. Because for one, the Blizzard that we know today is not the Blizzard of 10 years ago. A lot of the older personnel have left. A lot of the big names have just left the company entirely.
Sure.
So what's there is kind of a new generation of Blizzard. And another factor I think that generation's interested in maybe taking a look at that again. But another thing is that this past October, I believe it was called World's Edge. They're the developers behind Age of Empires 4. That came out and did very well. So I think that in this world we live in, I feel like a Microsoft house in which Blizzard strategy devs and this new studio that now has not a whole lot to work on right now because they just released a product has an opportunity with StarCraft 3.
Fake. Oh,
Okay.
gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I do want to reiterate because Brad's in chat right now and he makes a good point. I think it's important because it's easy to like get excited about these kind of things and like kind of let your imagination run wild, but like we're not going to see a lot of this change happen very quickly.
No,
so
no.
we're not going to see the fruits of this deal probably for years.
Oh
come.
no, definitely.
We might hear whispers.
I should clarify. We know, at least we here on the call know, is that games start development and we only hear about them until, on average, 6 to 12 months before they actually are scheduled to be released.
Right.
So that's why when Phil Spencer worded his tweet as he did, he said we will honor existing Activision Blizzard contractual agreements with PlayStation.
You know.
So there's obviously stuff that we don't know about that is still in development right now that is going to be honored and continue. So,
sure.
But yeah, that's
Pipe Dream.
Pipe Dream.
Singularity 2, baby. Singularity 2. Mic drop.
Hey.
No, nobody. Just me. Okay. Anyways,
I
Raven
like
do
the
something
idea.
other than Call of Duty. That's what I want. Holy shit. Raven used to be such a cool studio, and now all they do is Call of Duty. Let Sledgehammer do something other than Call of Duty. That studio has a lot of talent. They can clearly make cool games, but all they're letting them do is Call of Duty, and I'm sick of it. Let those free Sledgehammer and free Raven. God damn it!
Clearly, now that Microsoft has their access, they have access to more original IPs and characters. They're clearly going to come out with a Smash Bros. Competitor, right?
That's why they made this deal. Okay,
yeah.
We need to
you
move
saw
on.
that image, right? Yeah.
What? I did not. What image?
Oh no! Somebody mocked up what a Microsoft Smash Brothers character.
Oh, I've not seen this.
Oh,
yeah.
real quick,
someone share that in chat.
Before we move on, Phil Spencer also in an interview talking about this, just kind of casually just briefly mentioned like his excitement about having access to Activision's catalog, and was like name dropping some like classic games that Activision of old, or the Activision prior to this acquisition, clearly didn't give a shit about anymore. He name dropped Hexen, and what was the other one? Heretic, maybe? I don't know. But he name dropped several games that like. But he's name dropped several Activision games that have just been dead for ages. So he's clearly like, Phil Spencer's coming from a place of like he wants to diversify Microsoft's portfolio. He's been showing that for a long time now, and they've been doing good at it so far. So like, this is just another avenue of doing that. So like, I do think ultimately this means that Activision will be digging its way out of just being known as the Call of Duty company, because it's sad that like that's all they've become these days. So
and by the way, there was one more small piece of news that came with this announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Spencer is now the CEO of Microsoft Gaming. He is no longer an EVP.
I did not realize this.
Yeah, so therefore he has like control of that entire company.
So from now on, Nick, you have to call him Philip Spencer.
Mr. Philip Spencer.
Well, I mean, the way Microsoft is going off, and they're kind of making their own version of Alphabet, right? So the Xbox division is now its own company. It's called Microsoft Gaming, and they're going to be doing that with
Alphabet again.
Alphabet's the parent company to Google.
Oh, right. Okay, I was like, I knew that sounded fucking familiar.
But Meta is going to be what is the parent company of Facebook, right?
Oh man, yeah.
Let's not even talk about fucking Facebook. Fuck that shit.
No.
But I think that him getting that promotion and being head of the company now really. I mean, I'm going to be
honest. Like, I've kind of thought of him as the head of the company. I mean, even if it wasn't technically official, he's certainly seemed that way for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to be the head of the company; it's another thing to have a title.
Yeah.
So.
All right, we need to move on. We've been talking about this for a while. We have 2 questions tonight from our listeners out there. Again, I want to remind everybody, if you have a question or a discussion topic you would like to hear us talk about on a future show, simply email us at questions@4playernetwork.com. The number 4playernetwork.com.
Hold on. Dimasar made a great fucking joke in chat.
Oh man!
Said call him Philip because he just added so many IPs. That's pretty good. I like it.
Okay.
Good one,
I'll take
it.
I'll take it.
Dim and Sore. All right. Also, I think Brad would be remiss if I didn't. He made a joke about Phantom Dust coming back, so consider that out there. It's happening. It's real. Our first question this week comes from Taxter. He says, curious as to what y'all's favorite emotional moments are in games. The ending of Red Dead Redemption 1 and especially 2 come to mind when I think about truly emotionally impactful moments. By the way, my real name is Connor, and I'm from Oklahoma City. You guys rock. Love, Taxter. Thank you, first of all, for the kind words and for sharing where you're from. We always love to hear where you guys are from. Throw that into your emails. We're on our way. So the most emotionally impactful game moments. He already stole the Red Dead moments. There's so many great moments in Red Dead, but especially I think especially that ending to Red Dead 2 really hit me.
Well, define ending.
I mean, like that last hour before the first time the credits roll.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So, like, thank you. Are you referring to that?
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
I would
Dude,
refer to that.
fucking got tears out of me.
Yes.
Dude, that was definitely an emotional moment.
Also, if to be more specific with the ending of Red Dead 1, and this was more of just like a whole segment, but like after the big thing happens at the end of Red Dead 1 and suddenly you are playing as a different character.
Mm-hmm.
That whole just the kind of like the thematic through line of that was really effective to me.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oh man, Days Gone has a lot of really good emotional
I've
moments.
It up, before. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of trying to like glance over my monitor at my gaming shelf. Uncharted 4, and I brought it up before. There's a moment when Nate and Elena are riding like an elevator, and like the game kind of stops and slow downs, and it's just this long conversation. But dude, that was a pretty good moment for me.
If you want to talk about Nathan and Elena, my favorite moment of that whole, probably from that whole series, for me is still in Uncharted 3. I believe I can't remember what happens directly before this moment, but it's when Drake comes barging into the apartment. I think it's like after the plane crash or something, after he escapes the desert or maybe the cruise ship. I don't remember what it was, but Elena thinks he's dead or whatever, and he comes barging in, and he's like, "Oh my God, you're alive!" And they have this like really touching moment, and he like puts his head on her lap or whatever, and like falls asleep. And I don't know, it was just a really touching. Like it sold me on those two characters as like a couple. You know what I mean? Like I was
For sure.
from that moment forward, and then you come into like the beginning of Uncharted 4, like just the living together in the house and playing the video games together on the couch and just having this like really normal life together. Like I love those two characters, and it's for me it kind of sunk in. It started with that moment in Uncharted 3.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, an easy one I can mention is the entrance to Denver when you are in The Last of Us Part 1.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man, dude.
Ellie sees the giraffes.
Yeah, the giraffes moment.
I mean, honestly, the one for me in that game is when they're in the ranch house or whatever.
Yeah.
When he's like, "You're not my daughter" or whatever. Yeah, dude, that scene always gets me.
Two
The other one I wanted to bring up is it's not like I don't remember the exact context of the question. You know, it was emotion or feelings. What was the context?
Most emotionally impactful moments for you.
Another big one for me, and I know it seems kind of weird. Assassin's Creed 2 title card.
Yes,
you know,
yes, I understand that.
Assassin's Creed 1 is an okay game, kind of a slow burn, like meh. Assassin's Creed 2, things kind of start to pick up, especially in the intro to the game, and it's Ezio and his brother. I cannot remember his name for the life of me.
I don't remember either.
It's been a while.
Anyway, it's kind of, yeah, I know it has been, but it's them kind of you learning kind of the mechanics of the game, but that kind of swells with the Assassin's Creed theme of y'all climbing, you know, a building and seeing it. I don't know. It's just for some reason I always just have very vivid memories of that's a fucking fantastic title card, and just like it just gets you excited for the game.
Right.
And I remember that being a big moment for me.
Two that I would point to real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
The ending to Life is Strange.
I remember being impacted by it, but I don't remember specifically why because I don't remember what happened. But
you get a series of choices and you see your consequences played out from everything you decided earlier in the game, and it's a rough thing you have to do at the very end.
Gotcha.
Also, I would also say Firewatch. I really like Firewatch, and just the relationship you build up with I forget her name at this point.
Is it Rachel?
I don't remember.
I don't remember her name either. I feel like it's Rachel for some reason.
But yeah, just those conversations that you're having constantly, and as this evolving story that becomes very suspenseful and almost scary at times. It's by the time the final moments of the game are playing out and the writing's on the wall and you understand exactly what's going on. Yeah, it's hard not to feel.
For sure. Real quick mentions for me. Nolan already mentioned The Last of Us Part 1, but there is a ton of moments also in The Last of Us Part 2 that hit me really hard in the feels. In particular, obviously the whole museum scene is a real gut punch. Especially sitting in the rocket with the tape player is amazing. Also, the at the very end when you finally get to see Joel and Ellie on the porch, and they haven't quite she hasn't quite forgiven him. But like that moment is that scene is a masterpiece. It fucking hits me every time. But yeah, there's tons of moments when she leaves the house at the end, when she leaves Dina behind. Fucking love that game, man. There's so many good moments. But also Days Gone has some great moments when he's finally reunited with Sarah at the end of that game is especially after working towards it for so long and not being sure if it's ever going to happen. When it finally happens, it connects. But yeah, we've talked about this for a while. We need to move on. But thank you for the question, Connor. Really appreciate it. Our next question this week comes from Scud. He says, do you anticipate Elden Ring to have some difficulty tuning based on co-op versus solo play? This has been kind of inconsistent with previous Dark Souls games. Generally, do you think that tuning up difficulty for co-op is better, or do you think it should just be harder or introduce new mechanics altogether? So that's kind of a three-pronged question.
I would say that I am not an expert. I'm not a Jaeger. I'm not a Vatividya.
I don't think any of us
Soul
here
series. But I would say that I think in any scenario, I think scaling is useful. I don't think you're playing single player and you encounter a boss and they have 100 HP and you fight them and it's really hard, and then all of a sudden you bring co-op and they still have 100 HP. It doesn't necessarily make sense. I do think scaling is useful. Otherwise, sometimes it kind of just, I don't want to say it ruins the game. A fairly good example, and I know this is obviously not Souls related, but the original Dying Light, when you co-op, makes that game so easy, because one of the difficult things in that game is crowds of zombies or doing something and a zombie sneaking up on you, and all of a sudden when you have someone watching your back, it kind of makes that easier. Do they have some sort of scaling on the back end that maybe produces more zombies? Maybe, I don't know. But I think it's one of those things where I think there has to be some sort of increase in difficulty when there's two people. I'm not saying it has to be double, but like 1.5 or something like that, just to kind of increase the difficulty a little bit, I think makes sense.
Yeah, I would agree to that. I half agree with you. I agree that in most co-op scenarios, that scaling up the difficulty makes the challenge balance out. I think that, and again, we could talk ourselves into circles all day about fucking difficulty levels in Bloodborne and all the Souls games and whether they should have easy modes or not. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is that I think that Soulsian experiences, in so far as they are such uniquely mechanics driven and there's such a rhythm and difficulty already to the core experience, I think that scaling up the difficulty would be a detriment.
So, okay, so hold on. Define scaling difficulty then. It's one of those things where, you could say, oh, a boss having more HP, but you could also say maybe an enemy being a little more aggro, maybe them being a little more, attacking a little bit quicker. In Souls games, enemies will often attack and they'll kind of back up and they'll kind of go into like a pattern. They'll reset, they'll kind of change things. Maybe when you're in co-op, the time in which they've gone from attack to kind of switch to their kind of defense mode, maybe that's shorter. Maybe they go into attacks a little more quicker. There's a lot of things you can do that aren't just like, oh, giving them more HP or having them do more damage.
Absolutely, I understand that. I'm just thinking that the base core experience, the only scenario I personally would be wholeheartedly welcome would be if you were scaling up the difficulty based on the player's overall skill levels, as the actual leveling, the RPG levels that they have. So, like, if you're like a level, if you're a base starter character and you're like level 10 and you call in a co-op person and they're like level 68, they're super overpowered by comparison to you.
I think there's a certain amount of balancing being done there. I don't think it's possible to summon in someone that wildly, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like there would be.
I think it
things in
depends
place
on the
to
game,
prevent that
Nick.
from
I think
happening.
I do recall in some of the OG games, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure someone's going to yell at me because I think them wrong. I think there was like a range. It's like you couldn't invite someone to your world unless they were within X number of levels or you. And I think it
Right.
was for that reason, Chris Davis. I think it was to
Okay.
prevent you from like having someone come in that was at level. Now, did they change that in later games and you can invite anyone that's on your friends list? Maybe. I think thing I can think of vividly, and I know is accurate, is Dragon Age. No, sorry, I'm not Dragon Age. Dragon's Dogma. When you went to go find a pawn, you could only get pawns that were within a certain range, like a couple of levels difference of you. But if you had a friend on your friends list and their pawn was 50 levels higher, you could still invite them into your world. And all of a sudden, you're hitting, this ogre and you're doing 10 damage, and their pawn runs up and slaps him for 300. So that was something that could potentially throw things off. So I get the kind of what you're saying, Chris Davis. Maybe if you invite someone to your world that is so much more farther ahead of you, it should probably scale up the enemies, at a similar ratio, that they should get a little more, because it doesn't. It's not necessarily fair, but
Yeah.
whatever. Also,
And
at the same time, let people have fun.
I do think I think there's a certain amount of balancing or scaling that's inevitable when you bring other people into the game, even if it happens all behind the scenes and you never really notice it. I think they have to account for that in some way, especially in like something like Elden Ring or Dark Souls or whatever. But at the same time, you also have to consider that like the whole reason for pulling people into your game, especially in Dark Souls, was to make fights easier.
Mhm.
So if you just pull someone in and the enemy gets that much stronger and suddenly two people is like still the same challenge, you know what I mean? It's kind of
Well,
like, what's the point?
So one of the things I look at it, Nick, in one of the things that makes the hugest difference is not necessarily when you make the enemy more difficult to get them more health, whatever. A lot of the time it's about drawing aggro. It's about giving yourself breathing room for 10 seconds, because sometimes in Dark Souls or in Souls games or anything kind of like that, it's like I need to back up and heal for a second, but this boss will not get off my ass. And it's the ability to have someone that's just kind of like, it's fucking Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, just waving the flare, like over here, over here. And just kind of getting their attention for a second.
Yeah.
Can
how many-
help you a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like think back when you were playing Sekiro, Nick, and how many times you fought the butterfly lady. Just how you must have fought that lady 3-4 dozen times, and that is such an intimidating fight that having that extra person doing that aggro, while not necessarily doing damage, but giving you time to breathe and think and figure out the fight better. Like I
Make
think
a good point.
yeah.
Why do games not have more mechanics where it's like fucking in like Metal Gear Solid 5, I think you had that little dummy mechanic where you can make like an inflatable snake. Why do games not have more things like that where you can kind of throw down something that will just like distract the enemy for a little bit to give
'Cause
yourself a chance to like run
Not
away?
everybody's Kojima, man.
Yeah.
Not everybody's wild and wacky like Kojima.
More than that, I mean, I think a lot of designers, when it comes to AI, their priority is to design it for tracking and interacting with the single player.
Yeah.
And when you introduce like other mechanics that divert that, I don't think they can really figure out how to do that as well.
Always
as
a
they could.
way.
As
I don't think you're giving them enough credit.
All right. Well, thank you guys for the questions. Again, if you want to write in for next week, it's questions@4playernetwork.com. Send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Also, I do want to apologize. I realize I got a little overzealous there, and I may have spoiled something from Days Gone. I will censor that in the audio version, so I do apologize. I do see you. I'm sorry. I got so excited. I get so passionate.
I don't even
It just
remember what you
happened.
said, Nick.
It just slipped out. I know I may have spoiled something for someone in chat. I do apologize, but I will censor that in the audio version. That's a note for you too, Chris Davis. It's just gonna sound like I cursed like a sailor for a second. All right, let's wrap up the show with the 4-player minute. Hype, sweat, thank you, fuck you, any combination thereof. Who wants to start? Nolan, are you ready?
I've literally not prepared at all, but I'm gonna do it.
Go for it. I'm not prepared either.
Yep. My hype is for more Dodgeball Academia. I really enjoyed what little I've played of it so far. I'm really excited to play more. It's kind of one of those games where you just you're smiling while you're playing it. It's just kind of, it's the nostalgia factor. It's the kind of like lighthearted kind of fun times you're having while you're doing it. My sweat is for so Sony put out like a promotion right now, and I think it's like, oh, you can win this bid package of like a TV and like all this stuff that's for Horizon, but the shtick is it's free to like enter in the sweepstakes, but the requirement is you have to have beaten Horizon Zero Dawn, which I have not done. And don't get me wrong, I definitely want to beat it before the next one comes out, but I don't know if I'm going to. So I'm going to try my hardest, though. I've already downloaded it. I really do want to play that. Yeah, I know. Hi, Sweat. My thank you is going to go to Bernadette. This all kind of started with Overcooked, just kind of being in the pandemic and obviously hanging out a lot. And, she has her own hobbies that she likes to do, and I have my own. Obviously, mine mainly focus around video games. But we kind of tried to find some stuff to do together. So that kind of started with playing like Overcooked together, and then It Takes Two, and just kind of finding these games that we can kind of enjoy playing together, so we can kind of combine, at least my hobby of playing games with us hanging out together. And so we've been playing a lot of Stardew Valley, like I said, is our current one that we're playing. It's one of those things that's funny that like I kind of brought up because I have vivid memories of back in the day when I would play Stardew Valley, and she didn't know anything about it, and all of a sudden it's like 12:30 at night and I'm still going because just one more day, and she's like, oh, you're just playing that game. But now it's like the same thing with me and her, and she's like, well, do you want us to do one more day in the game? It's one of those things. I'm like, now you get it. Now you see how I was a few years ago. Now you get it.
Hell yeah, I do.
Owe me an apology.
Yeah. I don't really have a fuck you that I can think of this week. I guess I can say there was this one fucking guy when I was playing Crab Game last week who was being a fucking asshole. And I don't remember the exact scenario. I'll have to go back and look at the VOD maybe. But that guy was a fucking... I mean, I know that's half the people in Crab Game. That's kind of the thing. But fuck that one guy, because it was my first day. And I was like, they were like, you got to do that. And I was like, it's my first game. Like, I don't know what's going on. And so fuck that guy. But yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Nolan. Chris Davis.
Yeah. Okay. My hype. This may sound a little weird, but is Hitman 3. So in a stream over this past weekend, IO Interactive talked about their plans for year 2. They briefly showed off a brand new map that looks to be taking place on an island. That looks kind of cool. But they were talking about a lot of quality of life updates and things like that. And one of the things they're doing, which launched today, was a port of all of the Half-Life, all the Hitman 1 and Hitman 2 content into Hitman 3 with full PC VR capability.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I think Hitman 3 VR was only available on PlayStation, but now it's on PC. And you can play through, evidently, the entire trilogy in VR. And I have actually been wanting an excuse to load up my VR headset and play around with that again.
That's pretty intense. Yeah.
Yeah. Evidently, they were talking up like the mechanics there, and evidently shit just fucking works. So that's
the way I like my VR, when shit just fucking works.
It just fucking works. My sweat goes to my budget. I mentioned it previously, kind of alluded to it on earlier in the show, but I had to buy a new phone. I had to buy a new phone, and it was a lot of money, and now I'm really worried about whether I could even buy any games in the next month and a half or so.
Hey, there's a lot of good games on Game Pass.
I hear that, yes. I've been told that many, many, many times.
This is the Game Pass show. We've talked a lot about Game Pass.
At this point, we should be taking a cut from Microsoft,
Hey man, it's a good deal. What can I say?
Yeah. My fuck you, my first fuck you this week is to Bobby Kotick. We didn't really cover it in the show when talking about the Activision Blizzard merger, but I have the numbers for his golden parachute as soon as he is shit canned. So the only scenario in which he does not have a 9-digit payout for leaving Activision Blizzard is if he's terminated for cause. And that gets him his benefits continuation of $264,000.
Oh,
that basically implies that he would be fired. That's
the cheapest. Yeah, hold
on. The cause is he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's cause.
That'd be lovely, but they
the
need
standard by which they judge cause is obviously a bit different than what us normal folk.
Yeah.
Consider,
like if you want a cause, one of the things that came out this week was that he was throwing around that he wanted to buy Kotaku and PC Gamer because they were shit talking.
He wanted to change the narrative.
Yeah.
He said he wanted to, they were looking to change the narrative about Activision. So his solution was to buy Kotaku
and PC Gamer. Yeah.
It makes me cringe.
Yeah, it's fucking
into
terrible.
oblivion.
Yeah. But between his other 4 potential payouts in his golden parachute, between death, disability, termination without cause, or
I don't think he gets paid anything if he dies.
Yeah, I was about to say that's an odd one.
Yeah, he will earn no less than $253 million.
I mean, but here's the thing. At the end of the day, I mean, it's fucking shitty. But like the important thing is that he's gone. He's out of there. Like there is no scenario in which he's gonna be broke. Like it's just there's no point in even wishing for it. Unfortunately,
no.
So whatever it takes to get his ass out of there, so that the company can start finding its footing and doing right by its employees, that's the important thing.
So Nick, hold on. Here's my one argument for that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it encourages other people to be pieces of shit.
Yes.
If you say, hey, this guy gets $300 million because he's a piece of shit, someone else is like, well, I mean, I could then be a piece of shit and get $300 million.
No, I get that. I'm just saying, like us, like in the position we're in right now, like there is nothing, like we have no power over this at all, and at this point, it's just like I know it's shitty. But like, I just want to see him gone.
I get it.
He's gonna have money no matter what, and that is a travesty. But like, I wish there was something that I could do about it personally, but not really.
I get it.
There are things that can be suggested. And my other fuck you this week goes to Nick. Yeah, Nick. Yeah, you remember Sneakers? That movie I've been recommending to you that I gave you my Blu-ray copy over 2 years ago of.
Yeah, then the pandemic hit, and
Then the pandemic hit, and you never watched it, even though we basically lived at home for like a year and a half.
To be fair, I thought you were lending me some weird comedy, but it turns out it's a heist movie. I had no
Yes.
idea. I found this out like a couple weeks ago, and now I'm kind of interested in watching it. So
And yet you still haven't watched it. And
I've been doing this. Wait, did you go out and buy another copy?
Yeah,
of
I bought
Chris
another
Davis?
fucking copy because I figured I was never going to get it back.
You never. My fuck you week goes to Chris Davis.
Hey,
Instead of asking me for the movie back, he just went and bought another one, and then blames it on me.
Hey, to be fair, everyone should own a copy of this movie. But
Fair.
also,
how much was that? $5?
It was $8. You know.
Okay.
Also, I mean, like, I have a feeling I'm never gonna get any shit back from y'all. I loaned my copy of Demon Souls for the PS5 to Brad, December of 2020.
Well, you should start by asking for it back. That's the first step.
I have asked for it back. I will never get it back. I know. Yeah, there he goes. Look at that shit. Gotta go.
I'm pretty sure I got this from Brad. I know it's kind of hard to see because my thing's gonna be freaking out, but it's a copy of Metal Gear Solid, the HD collection disc 2. I want to say I got this from Brad in 2018. I still have it, and the thing is, it's not like Brad hasn't had access to this. It's been sitting on the shelf over there for years, and Brad's been in this room like 100 times, and it's still been there. And here's the thing, Brad, I don't need this anymore. I own it on like 3 systems now, so you can have it. It's still here waiting for you.
I want a hostage trade.
Come and take it. All right. My 4-player minute starts now. My hype goes to actually playing more Warhammer 40k Space Marine. I'm really, really enjoying it. It's nice empowerment. It's remarkably smooth and feels nice to control.
That's what she said.
It's empowering. And I'm really looking forward to playing more.
And you haven't experienced half the weapons yet.
And I haven't experienced half the weapons yet. I mean, I've only played 2 hours of it so far. I'm looking forward to my next stream next Tuesday. And I think we're talking in the Discord about setting up some kind of multiplayer night as well, which maybe will happen over a weekend. I'm not entirely sure, but it's a good choice. This is good. I'm enjoying this first Revival Club session. I'm gonna try to keep a tighter lid on the Revival Club this year. We're gonna be using curated lists from staff and community members. I'm already starting to think about who might do the next list, but I'm really enjoying my time with Warhammer so far. My thank you goes to, let's just say, Jeff, for pointing out Unsighted to me. He talked about it a lot, and I don't even know what it was that triggered me to actually go and play it. Maybe it was that he casually mentioned Game Pass, and I was like, I have Game Pass. Fuck it, I'm going to install it. Also, by the way, Game Pass, new release on Game Pass, Nobody Saves the World is out now. And I'm definitely, the next Drinkbox game, I'm definitely going to be playing that, talking about that on a future show. So yeah, thank you, Jeff, for turning me on to a game that has really kind of, made me kind of rethink the whole year. So thanks for that.
Jeff was almost my fuck you this week.
Almost.
Well,
I'm not. It's too late. You already used it.
Yeah.
My sweat goes to just the state of, hey, look, Nolan just subscribed. Thanks,
Nice.
Nolan.
Thank you.
My sweat goes to movies and movie theaters. Right, we're back. We're riding that COVID wave right now, and we're back at the point where I don't feel comfortable even going at like a non-peak time. Like I just don't feel comfortable going back to a theater, and I'm hoping that changes. But I really, 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 really want to see the Batman when it comes out in March.
The
I'm
3-hour Batman film.
The 3-hour Batman film. I'm really hoping maybe things are a little bit different. More specifically, like right now, I want to see Scream that's one that is a franchise that's near and dear to my heart, and
I'll scream for you, Nick.
this is the first time I haven't been there day and date to watch a new Scream movie in theaters, except when I was, obviously like 11 years old or 12 or whatever it was when the first one came out, and obviously I was too young. But as an adult, when a Scream movie comes out, I'm always there day and date, and it really pains me to not be able to watch it. The fact that we're in the middle of a global pandemic and in theaters only, quote unquote, exists as a concept, fucking sucks. Like, I wish I could just go pay. I'd pay $30 right now just to rent it at home and watch it at home, but I can't. I have to wait. So that really fucking sucks. And my fuck you of the week goes to Dexter fans. I've had a really, really, really hard time with Dexter fans who are being, it's fine to not like something like a finale. The finale has been very controversial for Dexter, and maybe rightfully so. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it either. But you know what? It's really made shitty fucking people come out of the woodwork. And it's got so bad to the point where it's like, I'm blocking people on Twitter, not because they're disagreeing with me, but because of how they're doing it. And there's not been many things that have made me feel that way.
I think it's just more so that the events of the past 6 years have emboldened people to say whatever the fuck they want, when they want, without repercussions. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a person who condones violence, but it used to be back in the day when someone said something, you could punch them in the face, but you can't really do that now. And so now people are just free to say whatever they want without action or without consequence for their action. So yes, I'm on board to block people. Just I don't I wipe my hands of you. I don't have time for your bullshit. I don't care. I'm not saying that there isn't potentially a conversation to be had, but when people aren't having a conversation and they're just telling you you're wrong and you're dumb and blah blah blah, that's not productive. That's not getting us anywhere. So I'm all on board. Just block them. Get that negative shit out of my life.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at. I've been trying really hard to have a discourse with people and talk about things, and because I don't have nothing but negative things to say, I had some positive things to say about it too. It's just people have just gone off the deep end, and it's not civil. It's not fun. In fact, it's in some ways, in a lot of ways, kind of tainted this whole experience for me, which has been pretty special up until this point. As as a fan of the show and all the stuff that's kind of happened to me since this started, and I've just been having a blast with it. To have people that I've been having really great conversations with and really talking to over the course of 10 weeks, having some of those same people just turn on you, and because we had a different opinion or a different viewpoint or whatever, it's really fucking shitty. And also, my primarily fuck you goes to if you don't like something, that doesn't mean you have to go attack the person who made it. You know what I mean? Like, there's people being complete, utter shitheads to someone who wrote something that they didn't like. And it's just not necessary. It's just really not fucking necessary.
Like I said, I just feel like people have been emboldened to say whatever they want, and to just this vitriol, this kind of like, you made something that I don't like, so now I'm going to attack you. Well, no one said you had to like it. They didn't make this for you. They made this thing that they like and they enjoyed it, and this is how it is supposed to be, because the creator decided that that's how it's supposed to be, and you don't like it, so okay, go write a fucking fan fiction. Whatever. Back in the day when people didn't like where something went, that's how we got fucking 50 Shades of Grey, isn't it? Wasn't that like a fucking Twilight fanfic or some shit?
It was a Twilight fanfiction that
go write a fucking Dexter fanfic. Tonight's the night. There you go. Make your own thing, and it can be whatever you want it to be. Like, why do you have to attack people?
Chris Davis is learning something right now, and you can see all the gears here. He's like, "What? My whole world has changed. I love that
My
book."
whole world hasn't changed, but like I'm trying to connect the dots, and the math is not adding up.
And first of all, Brad, Brad's popping in here, and I know he's probably joking, but now he's cracking jokes about me suddenly saying I'm saying you should be nice to J.K. Rowling. That is a totally different fucking thing. And I hope he's joking, and I hope people recognize that is not at all what I'm saying. If someone's being a shitty person, they should be called out on it. Just like someone who's being a shitty person by being shitty to someone who wrote something should be called out, I think. Fucking J.K. Rowling's a fucking bigot. Of course you should call her out.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit. But it's also like it's like the same. Thinking of the Game of Thrones thing. Obviously, the Game of Thrones finale pissed a lot of people off. But then there's a subset of people who were pissed off and decided to go tell the writers to kill themselves. I have a line, and that's crossing it. So my fuck you of the week goes to those people. I've just reached a point where it's like I on Twitter, I can't even say the word Dexter without feeling like it's gonna trigger people. So I've just gotten to the point where it's like I'm just blocking people until I get back to that point now where I can talk about it without somebody being an asshole. So
did you ever hear the story about what happened with Hideki Anno?
Who's Hideki Anno?
He was the creator of Evangelion.
Oh no, I have no idea.
So back in the 90s, in like 96, 97, he did the finale film called End of Evangelion. And in the last 15-minute sequence, as part of like the monologue going on screen, he just showed flash after flash after flash of hate mail and death threats that he got over how that series ended.
Yeah.
So like,
I'm sorry, Chris Davis. I wasn't listening at all. Which series?
Evangelion.
Evangelion. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sucks. That's silly.
Yeah.
It's just a really shitty. It's shitty being part of a fan base and then finding out that fan base is largely comprised of assholes. So that's my fuck you of the week. Well, it went longer than I wanted it to be.
And I know not to go kind of go down another rabbit hole with this, but it's the same thing with like something like, I like Rick and Morty, but a bunch of Rick and Morty fans are pieces of fucking shit, and they try to gatekeep the show, and they try all this stuff, and you know what? Because of that, I literally look up nothing about Rick and Morty online, and I just enjoy the show on my own, and I don't give a fuck what other people think, because yes, there are just people online who are pieces of shit, and they think that they rule the internet and they are the smartest people in the room, when in reality, 90% of the time, they are the fucking dumbest people. So it's just frustrating. But I see where you're coming from, and I get it.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but hey, I guess it's the reality we live in right now. So anyways, sorry, that went longer than I expected. I didn't mean to go into a big rant about it, but that's what this is for, I suppose. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. That's our show this week. Again, reminder, next week is our 2021 award show. Brad will be here. We're going to go through all of our award categories. It's going to be fun. I'm going to release it as an audio file. I think I broke them up into 5 smaller podcasts because it's going to be a long one. So I'll do that again this year. Again, if you want to submit your top 10 list for the community, we're doing a raffle. You can go submit your top 10 list. You can submit your own nominees for the award categories as well. Those are both entries into the raffle. You can find the links for that in the show notes. You can find it on 4playernetwork.com. It's in Discord. It's on Twitter. It's everywhere. Shouldn't be hard to find. Go check it out. Get those lists in. We're going to probably let that run through the award show next week. So go do that when you can. In the meantime, join us in Discord at discord.gg/4player. And of course, we'll see you guys next week. In the meantime, be good to each other, be safe, and play video games. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.